Oh Jesus. Yo, if
So
anybody wants to fucking do that, they can do that.
I wonder if that jumps into the space of OnlyFans, right? Because if you are a girl and you have super follows, then you could have posts that are like a little bit nude, lewd,
I guess
right?
so, but you can't. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you could totally be. You can totally do all that shit on Twitter. You can post all the porn you want on Twitter too.
Yeah, and then you can age restrict it and super follow it. So it's like, oh, you on my nudes, super following me on Twitter, and it's like $5 a month kind of thing.
Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah, it's a paywall on free content. I think. What do you think on that model of getting paid for free content where you create a paywall on certain content? The majority of your thing is free.
Yeah, that's a lot of podcasts nowadays, right? Like they'll have free episodes, and then their bonus episode will be like behind a paywall on Patreon. That's how they
Yeah,
make a lot of their money. That's not how we make money. We don't make any money. You need followers for that kind of money. That's follower money. That's like
that's
actual.
followers money.
That's like
Yeah,
actual show money. Like even just that's not like basement show money.
I feel like it'll be when we get to that success level, we're gonna be like, all right, Brian, read this Christmas card for our Patreon. Read this jingle and wish people Merry Christmas and
I
Happy
like how
wishes.
I like how glass half full you are. Is when
Anyway,
we get there. No question on if it will actually happen. It's just when. It's already a done thing. It's an
I feel like
inevitability for you.
well, it's like have you ever been to those business seminars where they teach you like how to grow your company and all that stuff?
Oh fuck
Um,
yeah! I think I have. I hate those. I hate those.
there's one guy named Brian Tracy. He's a you know wealthy guy teaching other people how to be wealthy, which I think really is just for him to make money instead
Of
of other people.
yeah,
But
no shit. Of
anyways,
course.
but the one he was like, oh, you want to double your income? That's easy. You just work long enough, and eventually, inflation will carry you to double your income. So it's like
What the
if you don't
fuck?
do anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, you ever see one of these like multimillionaires that come up? He's like, oh, I was like, how do you, what kind of advice can you give for the people, that want to be like you? No one has ever said, hey, you should attend these seminars because this totally changed my life.
Yeah,
I totally
that's
became
right.
rich. I became rich beyond my wildest dreams after I attended this, the next fucking the Bezos business seminar, and then he said shit like, "Hey, you want to get rich? Well, fucking work harder." And then you're like, and then just a light bulb goes in your head. Oh shit, that was the secret all along.
I think for me, like if I was rich and say I did a business or whatever, and people wanted me to talk, I wouldn't make it like how to get rich, listen to me. It would be like, oh, come and chat with me. This will be a big, live stream kind of thing. That's how I would
Oh my god, Jason
like it.
actually came.
So I told you,
Oh wow,
Sniper J, he's just been hiding in the bushes.
Jesus.
All right, let's try that
Oh
again.
yeah, now we can hear you.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I was saying I was taking a nap and I didn't even eat dinner yet, but here I am.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
well,
What a
thank you for
dedicated
powering.
guy.
Yeah, thank you for powering through this.
Oh no, who knows? I might just pop off randomly.
That's fine.
Do
Eating
you
is
know
important.
who?
All right. Yeah. Welcome to our new episode, Verbal Laxative. We got me, Zinzin, Brian, and Jason on for
Hello.
today's episode.
No, thank you.
I feel like we got to a point where we made so many episodes, we forgot how many episodes we made, and that's why it's like new episode instead of
Oh
fifth
yeah,
or
we didn't celebrate it. We went through our 50th episode. I think couple episodes back.
Huh, I didn't even know.
I I don't know the episode number until I upload it, and then I can see it, and then so I think we're on.
Hello. Do we have a celebration for this? Like, are we gonna
We're gonna what?
have a meal?
Yeah, like what,
You know?
100?
or even the 50th.
Oh, well, I don't know how likely that's gonna happen, given we can't even meet up or anything.
We'll just
Yeah,
have to meet up through plexiglass.
we're at episode. This episode will be 53. So 3 episodes back, we already hit 50.
Right, let's celebrate at 100.
Well,
Whoops.
good job, boys.
See
Yes.
you at the top.
Yes. Well, and then we'll look forward to the next 50 that we record if we're still in the game.
Yeah, it'll just be what, another couple of years or so at this rate.
We should be one of those guys that put out like one per year. We'll slowly just dwindle down to like one a month, one per year.
Some really big like YouTubes and stuff, they only put up a video every month or something, but they make it big. We could be one of those guys.
Or it could be the millions of small ones that don't make it big and still put out 2 a month.
I think YouTube and Twitch probably makes most money off the ones that don't make it big and just has a lot of free content.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's like how many people that make it big? Less than 1%?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the OnlyFans, how the money was distributed, right?
When was this? Like episode 40 or something? We probably talked about OnlyFans at some point, but I don't remember.
We talked about the simps, but I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but basically, someone did some data mining to figure out like how the money is distributed, and I think about 73% of all the revenue in OnlyFans go to like 10% of the creators. So basically, like people who are part of that 10% are making like $1 million a month.
Oh yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. I think you mentioned
But
it. Only the most popular
but
ones are making the big chunk of
yeah,
money.
where majority of people don't really have any paying fans, so it's pretty bad. So I guess like remember there's that story about that pharmacy lady who does OnlyFans on the side
Yeah.
to supplement. I mean, I don't know how well she does.
The
'cause-
paramedic, not the
Yeah, the
pharmacy.
paramedic. Oh, sorry, paramedic. You're right. Like, I'm not sure how well she does because it doesn't sound like OnlyFans is viable unless you're one the first or unless you have a name before you went to OnlyFans.
Well, it was her side gig, right? Obviously, she had a main job, so
But
a
you
lot of
lost your main
people on
job.
there just go on there. Well, she lost her job as a result of someone finding out about it, but a lot of people out there that do OnlyFans and that kind of content, they're like, girls and people that need money to pay for school or something. So it's like more of a side hustle than anything.
So me and Zinzin were talking about a new side hustle. In Twitter, they have a new feature called Super Follow. It's where fans can follow us. They can pay us for this extra content. It's behind the paywall. So
I
and then
actually quickly heard about that just earlier today.
yeah, that
Not
just
sure
came
how
out.
it works though.
So I'm just curious if that's kind of stepping into the OnlyFans territory. What if you're attractive woman and you don't want to set up an OnlyFans, you just set it on Twitter.
I bet a lot of people will do that because seems to be they're more loose with what people can put up compared to stuff like Instagram or other social media platforms.
Yep.
True.
Yep. Just straight up post your porn on Twitter. Yeah, everybody can do that.
I find even for gaming, Twitter has all the newest stuff, newest info, and all that stuff. Like, remember back then we used to use Game FAQ. That's where you find cheats and stuff.
Now it's just
Nowadays-
a shell of itself.
Those days.
Yeah. Now, I wonder if anyone
Wait, so you use
uses.
Twitter for that now?
I use Twitter for mostly tech. Yeah. If someone discovers something new, they'll post a Twitter post on it. That's where all the new information comes out.
Oh. I don't really use Twitter or anything. I used to use it as a source for when trade deadline was up for hockey. They'd be the first, so I'd scour Twitter for the latest tweets on trades and stuff. But
Oh,
that was
yeah,
the
right.
extent of it.
I think I've already hit that age where I'm just too old. and I
But
don't know
you
anything
probably
about
use
Twitter.
Twitter for politics, man.
Nope.
Twitter and politics are
I don't
huge.
have
You
a, I don't
post,
I don't have a Twitter account.
well, you
I get
probably
that
read.
feel, man. I don't use Twitter for anything now.
You don't need a Twitter account to follow Twitter. Like you could probably read Trump's tweets without Twitter.
No, that'd go insane. My brain would melt. Usually, what I get is just other people read that shit for me, and then they
Right.
will post something on something that I do read and I do monitor, and then that's how I get it. I don't actually go on Twitter to fucking scroll through all an ocean of garbage just to find something to make me chuckle.
Yeah, most of the best tweets are like posted on other platforms anyways, like Reddit or something.
But then they're not the original source.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but you don't really need an original source. It's 150 characters or something, so they usually get the entire tweet in one go.
They were complaining in Twitter back then because of the limit of characters. Different languages have different, what do you call, limit, or like the 150 characters applies for all languages. So some languages have more leniency, like say Chinese, because they use characters.
He's
Like
supposed
one character have
150
more
words.
or exactly. Whereas like if you're Spanish, there's a lot of sounds that in Spanish is redundant, and you're wasting it on your 150 character limit. How do you guys feel about twit longer? Do you know what twit longer is?
Isn't that just a compilation of all the like tweets from a handle? Is that
No,
it?
basically it's another link to a longer post. So if someone wants to rant or give an apology or try to cancel someone,
I was
they'll
thinking read
post
it
a
in
twit longer.
You can read it in long form then instead of
You
just.
well, yeah, it's a link. It's another link to somewhere else. Yeah, so you click. So they tweet it, and then you click on the link to read another page.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's called
I've
twit.
read some of that shit. Yeah, I know what you
Yeah,
mean. I don't know.
but then it kind of breaks the philosophy of Twitter, right? Because Twitter is the whole idea of headlines, not you know newspaper articles.
Do
Or
something about it then. They're ruining the purity of Twitter. You're gonna have
exactly.
to. You're gonna
Purity
have
of
to be.
Twitter.
You're gonna have to behead them. Spill the blood of those heathens.
But then again, I mean, Twitter they do like chains too. So like, because I read Dr. Hinshaw's tweets just to figure out what's the updates on COVID. So I'll just read the
Oh,
chain on that.
it's. It's so you know what I feel like a fucking boomer is because I'm like, oh fucking I hate how everything has to go through Twitter now, but then it I guess in a way it's better because back then there would be no way. I just hate that there's even a back then I can reference before Twitter. I
Well, back
I've
well
hit
back
the
then it's
old line.
interesting because back then I think teachers would teach us like newspaper and stuff and what you spot things like that, right? But you know, in today's society, because of the big tech industry like Facebook, Google, and stuff, most people get their news online, and they don't get it from their local news source. They get it from those big tech companies. So now countries are charging these tech companies to pay them
Mm-hmm.
because to pay their local source. So like the big one is Australia right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Europe is going to follow suit, and even Canada is looking to follow suit. So
Yes, surprise, surprise that when a big fucking tech company gets to decide what the fuck goes on and shit and starts to fuck on an action on like a country, surprise, it's not a good thing. But fucking there. I feel like all of these governments are a bunch of idiots, anyways. Like it was just like oh yeah, okay, well you guys just shot yourselves in the foot. Of course, you guys was stupid. Who gives a shit? Idiots. We live in an idiot country. It seeps into my brain sometimes. Just the idiocy. Uh,
well, what do you mean by that?
I mean
What do you mean?
like it's just like oh fucking you could just this is very obvious. This is very obvious. I told you so. Like everybody. You're like if you're even like the health official of the province, you have a Twitter account, right? Because like you said, it's that important. Everybody wants to be fucking online. Everybody's extremely online. And then what are you gonna go? It's all on Twitter. So if Twitter or whatever, Facebook with Australia just decides to fuck on you, You can't do anything about it because it's like an internet company. At the same time, the countries, they're all like, yeah, praise we praise all these tech companies and all the things they could provide, and like private enterprise and all that shit, right? And then when they say, oh well, since I'm the big powerful tech company, I want to do so. I want to censor something. At that point, you're like, oh shit. Oh, what do we do? You can't do anything about it.
At what point does a private company need to be public? Like, for example, let's say internet is owned by a private company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like internet's like a free utility in a sense. But what if it wasn't? What if it's owned by a private company? And because the internet is so integral to everyday life, like at
Yeah,
some point it needs to be a public thing, right? It
yeah. I
can't
mean,
just
the whole thing I'm saying is, like they've grown this big and this powerful. What do you expect that they're gonna do? Of course, they're gonna be the gatekeepers for everything now, right? Like, and now Australia's like, oh shit, this is not a good thing. Oh, we should have done something about it. Well, they can't do anything about it, and also it's a little bit too late. Like, what? It's 2021, and you just figured this out now. Like, what the fuck were you doing all the decades when this was coming up? You know. So now they're
I
just shit out of luck. What do they make Australian Facebook now? Yeah, like that's what like no one stopped to think. Where it's like, oh shit, like oh all these big multinational fucking tech conglomerates and corporations and shit. They may have a little bit more pull than and we won't be able to do anything about it. Is that a problem? Nah.
Well, do you think that it's just a human nature thing where we don't do anything until it's too late because we're always focused on other priorities and other more
No,
urgent
well,
priorities?
okay, well, that's just it's even if it was human nature, it's not like something where it's like, oh yeah, well, this is human nature. What are you gonna do? And it's like the ones that you don't hear that become problems. It's because something was done about it, right? And so it's not like, oh fuck, well, we procrastinated too much. What can you do about it? Well, you should have done something about it. It's not a question of it's. I wouldn't even say it's human nature. It's just something. It's just a fucking like when people make mistakes and they overlook shit. That's a fucking mistake. Even if it was whether
So
it
you
was
would
human nature or not, it's not even a fucking problem.
you
It's
just call it a mistake.
Yeah, of course it's a mistake. Like it's what's stopping people from actually like if you were smart about it and you wanted to go deal with it, you would have dealt with it, right? It's not like your own human nature stops you from doing it. It's just that you just overlooked it. You made a mistake and you overlooked it. But I mean,
Hmm.
if like it's pretty fucking obvious. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out that like, oh, this is not a good thing. This is not a good trend. You know, like people and their fucking kids, like a kid couldn't figure it out. Like, oh, this is not a good thing. You probably should have thought about like maybe you should have some kind of backup plan or contingency or some kind of limit on stuff you can play on that you can place on these entities, right? And then like now it's like Australia realizes that their country is just way too small to deal with this. Like Facebook can say, oh well, no, I don't give a shit what you say. I'm just not gonna carry Australian news then if you're gonna be a little bitch. And then Australia is like, no, it's not fair. So now they're saying, our strategy now is to like get a bunch of countries on our side, like in Canada and wherever else. Mind
Hmm.
you, all these small countries, right, that aren't like big actual countries that can make a dent into like into a company like Facebook. But oh yeah, try to get Canada and whoever the fuck on your side. Like oh yeah, now we can have a little posse to go up against them, and it's just like okay, you guys. Uh, wait, I was gonna make a comment. Well, what the fuck were we talking about before this? Before you brought up all the tech stuff, we were talking about
Uh,
OnlyFans. And what
Talking about
else?
OnlyFans super follows on Twitter.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I got nothing. Never mind.
Was it something after Twitter?
I just don't know. I don't want to waste time on it. I was like, oh, I remember I had something to say, and then I was just like, well, what I had to say isn't really even fucking that important. Who gives a shit?
All right. Well, let's go on to the main topic. What is our main topic?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, all right, that's our episode." You know.
Okay. I can go off
Pretty
any.
good, guys. Pretty good, guys.
All right, that's a wrap.
Well, this is one of those ones where we didn't really have a main topic. Wait, no, you had something that you wanted to talk about. You wanted me to pretend to be pseudo Phil over some argument that you had.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was the idea of the word sorry. Like, um, let's say um, you did something. Uh, let's see how to pose this. Okay, so we all know the term sorry, and when people use it, generally like if you make a mistake or you fuck up, that's when you hear it often, right? But what if
Yes,
like
when a person apologizes.
yeah, when you apologize. So what if you know that what you're doing or going to do, you know is gonna upset someone, but you continue to do it, you still do it, and then you say sorry afterwards? Is that important? Because I was discussing with Phil, and it sounds like to him it's not. So, like for example, if you're someone who's chronically late, and you're supposed to meet your friends and you came late, and you say sorry, like to him it's like it doesn't mean anything. So should you say sorry in that situation if you think people don't care about your sorry, or
Well,
I
what would he
still
rather
think you
say?
should.
What would he rather say? You just show up and then you just stare at everybody and be like, "Kiss my ass." And you sit
Yeah,
down.
because at least in that case, even if the person doesn't really mean it or anything, they still know they did something wrong. So it's more so not
so you
an
would
apology, but it's an acknowledgement that they were in the wrong.
I will say that in Canadian society, Canadians say sorry way too much in comparison to a lot of other places. Like we pretty much say sorry just for in place of excuse me, and
I think Japanese do that too. Like sumimasen, I hear that a lot though. I mean, it's not sorry, but it's
yeah,
almost like
it's like
sorry.
comparable.
It's
And
comparable, yeah.
and the Japanese are like the overly formal, polite like society where it's like,
Hospitality is everything to them.
well, no, it's just it's yeah, you know what? If you approach like Japanese levels of fucking sumimasen, then you know that you guys are you're part of like the big the very rare percentile where you guys everybody's way too apologetic compared to the rest of the world.
No, I still appreciate it. Just like Canada has the stereotype that everyone here is nice and friendly, so I'd prefer that than just like everyone being an asshole.
I think the idea that Canada's nice is like because we don't really have a strong culture.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say this. Oh my god.
It's like it's a substitute for culture.
Oh
Like,
my god,
Canada's nice.
I feel like we're
Like-
just fucking like just connected mind meld right now. I was just about to say that shit.
That's
But
why
it's
we're
still
nice.
a better thing to be known for than, either nothing
Sure,
or
but
something
but
bad.
that's it's like when the girls say, "Oh yeah, he's nice." It doesn't
Yeah,
mean you have a
it's
shot at all.
so fucking it's so fucking stupid. I mean, like, yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. We literally don't have anything that I actually heard that on as a commercial. On like a Sportsnet
they're
commercial.
going with it.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? This is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever.
I don't know who's the marketing for Canada, but they're just riding the nice term because
They
like,
are.
oh, everyone knows it.
That's
Like, let's use it.
fucking horseshit. If it makes me want to stop being nice, it makes me want to be like, oh, that's what we are now. All right, fucking burn it, burn everything, start flipping it.
You're just a rebel here.
Oh my god, I don't know what it is. It's just like if you make a commercial telling like, oh yeah, so what is it? We're known as the nice people, or it's just like or saying like, oh, Canada is a nice country. We invented nice or some shit like that. Like literally, I'm I, I'm not paraphrasing what the commercial is saying, but the wording was pretty much that idea. Like it was like, oh yeah, Canada invented nice, and then carry that further to the eventual conclusion where I don't know, they showcase a fucking car or some shit at the commercial. I didn't pay attention to
don't
what
even know what this commercial
I don't
talking
even
about is.
I can't even remember what the fuck they were advertising. I just remember that they said in the commercial there's like They're like, oh yeah, all of Canadians are nice people. We're known as the what the fucking like what, the symbol of nice or some shit like that. I don't know. Whoever has seen that commercial, if anybody if anybody actually knows what the fuck I'm talking about, I will gladly watch it again just to.
Well, okay. Here's the idea. Like when you're talking about country and you're talking about culture and nationalism, right? There's a couple of things that come up. One is food. Like, what is a Canadian food?
Oh,
Poutine.
probably like poutine. It's probably
Poutine?
Montreal
Like
smoked meats.
maple syrup, maybe.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a lot
Right.
on the east.
But like
'Cause-
when you look at the market in Canada, sometimes they feature food that's not even Canadian. Like they'll feature like dim sum or like, like a falafel, like things that are multicultural, like that you would relate to other countries. So it's kind of interesting. Like when like the commercials you're talking about, when they show these commercials on airports about Canada, sometimes they're not just like sometimes the food doesn't seem to be Canadian is what I look at it.
No, yeah. No, yeah, there's nothing there, all right? It's not that kind of a country.
And is poutine a Canadian thing? Like, or is that
That's the closest thing you're gonna get to something. Like, you know those if you ever have those like show stands where they have like a food and a flag put in, like a really stupid fucking just a showcase of whatever. Like the
Yeah.
closest thing you're gonna get to a Canadian flag put in on into a food would be like Putin.
Poutine.
Poutine.
Putin.
All right. So like, what would be
I do love
America?
poutine, though.
Would that be burger and fries?
Yeah, very likely.
Burger,
hot
Like
dog.
burger, fries, hot dog,
Or
milkshake.
what would
some shit
French
like
be
that.
like? A baguette?
Probably.
France?
Yeah, cheese.
Yo,
something.
France can legit have his flag on fucking
Escargot.
food and shit, right? Like French cuisine is pretty much it's pretty established, right? They,
That's pretty established. Yeah.
you know, like fucking Canadian. Yeah, when Canadian, you got Putin. That's like everybody knows that's Canadian shit, and everything else is like
So,
what
like
are you gonna-
poutine is just like, I mean, it's fries and gravy, like two items.
And cheese.
I know,
Fries,
it's-
gravy, and cheese. It's
Dude, I
three
love
items.
poutine.
I mean,
Yeah, they
I'm-
could break
I'm-
down a lot of things. It's like, escargot's just snails, hot dog's just meat and a bun. It's like you could simplify a lot of things.
Let's just say that you know for Canada, like you're good at some stuff. You know you're not gonna be good at other stuff. Canada's not gonna be good at like the culinary representation competition.
Well, they don't have as rich of a history in order to like establish a well-known food. Like a lot of the countries in the EU are known for, or I should say, in Europe in general, are known for like a lot of foods. It's
Well, not
because,
just
they're
Europe,
like
but like
OG.
Asia too, right? Asia.
Well, yeah,
has a lot
same
of
thing, though.
rich- Same thing, yeah. Like even not even Asia, like even South America, like any parts of the world. I feel like Canada is just so lacking on that cuisine. You know,
Well, yes, we are. we definitely are. And then we make it up in really stupid ways, as evidently as
like okay, so as Jason was saying, nice is a Canadian thing. You know what's also a Canadian thing? Us being cold, like it's cold here, and that's just I don't know. It's not
I like
very
how the
marketable.
yeah,
It's
I like
just
how
a
the traits of
stereotype.
the people are just like, yeah, it's just basically the weather, and
The
just
weather, yeah.
a vague, I know minimum of how people like interact in society. That's it.
Well, it's like Denmark's known for the same thing too.
Denmark.
They're not known for really much else. Yeah, just nice people and it being cold.
The
Oh, I work with
Scandinavian.
Yeah, they're known for Scandinavians. And when you think of Scandinavian, you think of Vikings and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty big difference.
I mean, I guess if you think of Canada, you might think of mountain, Rocky Mountains, the Mounties, right? Maybe,
It's just
or
the
or
country,
maybe that's just Western Canada.
It's just there's not much that like that fucking yeah. There's just not much in the form of like some kind of national like history or like identity.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, we just don't have as rich of a history as a lot of other countries are,
like
first
like-
world, well-known, popular.
Canada just is not as memeable. Like if you think of America, there's so much memes, right? Like the land of the free, land of opportunity, the Big Apple.
And also just
like,
the fucking
Trump.
yeah, most of the memes you see nowadays are just terrible. It's just because they're making fun of the country just because how shit it is, right? So sometimes not having memes is also a good thing.
Yeah, that's
Your
what I'm
country isn't
saying.
memeable.
That's what I'm just kind of saying. Like, I'm at least glad that the stuff that Canada is known for is at least positives.
Yeah, at the very worst, it's
Uh,
cringe. That's it.
it's
Like
beige.
you don't
I
have
think
anything.
Canada's beige.
It is beige. It is
It's
complete.
neutral.
Yeah, it's a beige colored Corolla, right? It's not a
Yes.
car that you're gonna show off and you're not gonna brag about it. And it'll probably be pretty cringe if your mom puts on like the fucking nicest, the most kindest and nicest car on
It's
the
like
as a
it's like if you
decal.
look at your wardrobe and it's like you have a gray T-shirt. It's not like I don't hate it, but it's not like your favorite T-shirt. But you'll wear it. But that's just it, right? It's just a T-shirt, and
Yeah.
I feel like Canada. That's what Canada is. I did read like in the age of internet with public shaming being all time high with cancel culture and stuff. The best way to survive is to be, you know,
Unnoticed.
unnoticed. Exactly, it's the best way. So I guess in a way during the war with social media, Canada would survive because yeah, it's just a nice cold country. That's it.
I don't
No
know.
one really gives much a fuck about it.
I think yeah, okay, yeah. If there was no mentions, but I think we're going down. I just why do they have to go down on the cringe? That's what I like. Why?
On the nice,
It's just
it's because they don't have anything
it's
else.
so empty. He's just like he's like name one good thing about some. Oh, he's nice. That way, fuck off, right?
Well, how about
Jesus Christ.
hockey? Is Canada known for hockey or?
Oh yeah, okay. Hockey is one.
definitely.
Yep.
But like hockey is not even our national sport, isn't it? Lacrosse, Canadians.
I have no idea. I have no idea, but like,
Yeah, but I mean that doesn't really mean anything.
Okay, fine.
well, hockey is one of those things where it's a little bit too crazy here. Like most of the other places in the world, it's just either another sport or people don't give a shit about it or they don't know what the fuck hockey is. But for
How does
Canada,
hockey work for Stanley Cup? Is it like X teams from Canada and X teams from US?
yeah,
Or-
it's basically U.S. and American teams. Majority is American teams.
So wouldn't isn't there unbalanced? Wouldn't there be usually more American teams that get to the finals than Canadian?
No,
Yeah.
no, it's broken into East and Western conferences, so Canadian and American teams are mixed in both.
Is there a quota for Canadian teams or?
No, not really.
oh.
They're just based on location. So
okay.
split from the East and West conferences, there in each one there's like separate divisions, and it's just like based on location.
Oh, okay.
Well, with
And-
COVID
sorry.
right now, it is split on countries. Like the Canadian teams are playing Canadian teams, and then on the U.S. it's like whatever. Like right now, just because of COVID,
Oh, so like
all the
Toronto
Canadian
leaves
teams.
and the Senates will continue to
Yeah,
play.
Canadian teams all play each other repeatedly.
Yeah, it's
Oh, you
freaking
die.
boring. I
So
just
does the
watched the game and it was
rivalry-
terrible.
Does the rivalry kind of like become less because they see each other so often? They become more friends.
No, I don't know. No, I don't think so. It just becomes more repetitive.
It
Honestly,
does. That's why it's pretty bad.
Because like, would you play like say Calgary Flames versus Edmonton Oilers? If you guys play each other so often, don't you just become friends? Because it's like
no.
we see each other.
No,
all
you
the
don't
time
become friends. It's just you. I don't know. It's kind of like in the playoffs where you play each other in like a round, but then this has less meaning to it. There's less pressure. It's not as interesting, so it gets very repetitive and boring faster.
now. So is it making money then? Is hockey making money, or
I
are they just losing it?
I don't know for sure, but I would guess that they're losing money, and I don't know why they're really carrying forward with this season. But I don't know. The same kind
Like-
of goes with all sports going on these days.
Well, I think the Super Bowl was fine. They played it out, and
Yeah, but the
the
Super Bowl had a crowd and everything, which I don't know how that works out, but
They didn't
that
give a
was
shit.
they had a
literally-
real crowd. They had a real crowd. They didn't have a
yeah,
fake crowd.
they had a real crowd.
Oh,
Another
With
super
mask
spreader
or
event.
no mask?
They weren't even spread out.
Mask or no mask?
At that point, like the entire country's basically infected, so they're like, let's just go ahead with the Super Bowl. Fuck it.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they were all enforced to wear masks, but even on TV, I could see that there was plenty of people not wearing masks.
Damn.
Yeah, like fuck it.
So Biden's
do a
no
super
better
spreader.
than Biden's no better than Trump
No, not really.
at containing it.
But
That's hilarious.
now because Trump's not in office, there's a complete 180 shift in the media landscape. So it's now back to the Obama
It's-
era.
it's kind of boring, right? You don't really hear much. It's very quiet. But actually, I just want to give congrats to Tom Brady on winning another Super Bowl.
Yeah, that guy's insane.
He's beast. Yeah,
I
he's
wish
like
I
what?
bet money on that. Like every year, I forget.
Oh, you bet money on it?
No, I should have.
Oh, well, there's
I'm gonna
a
jinx
meme
it.
going on. You never bet against Brady, right?
Yeah,
The
that's
meme.
why every time he's made it to Super Bowl, that's the team I
Yeah.
cheer for.
Because everyone was thinking like KFC, right? Kansas Fried Chiefs.
What the?
Anyways,
Hey, Billy joined us. What's up?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hey.
Hey,
Nice.
all good. We were just talking about Super Bowl here.
Yes, your favorite.
Not my
Super Bowl
favorite.
and KFC.
Yeah, the Kansas Chiefs.
I didn't even hear of the comparison to KFC.
I
before,
didn't.
so-
I checked
That's
out,
cool.
so I didn't. I don't even know.
Oh,
I
okay.
was sticking to chicken.
Well, actually, here's a question. Oh, actually, I'll let Billy start.
With what?
Okay,
What is
my
he
question-
starting with?
I
He
don't
just
know.
kept fucking.
Well, I
my
didn't want
God.
to take the spotlight away from Billy, but
Alright.
I had a question for you.
Me.
So,
Wow, I feel for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So recently, Biden, when he came on, he asked the Pentagon how many military bases we have, like around the world. And it sounds like they don't even know. And apparently, there's this book that has a database of all the military, and they were using that book as their reference to figure out how many military bases. And even then, it's not like an accurate
Yeah,
depiction.
what year was this book written?
Recently, I think. But anyways, it seems like U.S. has a lot of military bases around the world, like in countries like in Europe and Pacific Oceans and on islands.
Yes,
and
it's
stuff
all
like
over
that.
the world. It's basically
It's
a
all
world
over the
empire.
world.
Yeah.
So like,
they
why doesn't other countries do that? Because isn't that the best way to defend yourself? Is to
No,
also
because they
set up
won't
satellite-
fucking let them. Like, it's not a vacuum where you can just. It's not like a fucking Settlers game where you can just go out and just fucking establish shit all over the world. Like, you do that, and then the U.S. will make you into like an enemy. Like most of these countries that got invaded, they just pretty much just say, like, oh, it's either I don't want to trade in U.S. dollars anymore, or it's like, oh, I don't welcome the American presence, and then there's like, oh, the next day they're fucking gone, like. Fucking Guatemala got wrecked because the United Fruit Company back then just wanted in, right? And then they got fucking wrecked. So it's literally you gotta deal with this bully in the playground zone. Well, on the playground where he was fucking he has a hand in everything, and if you wanna fucking tell him to fuck off, then he'll come and and he'll kick your ass. And if you can't fight and defend yourself, he's just gonna fucking rape you. I like how it's
It just
fun.
sounds
Money
worse.
to throw around for their military budget and stuff.
Yeah, they pretty much spend $1 trillion on them. Like officially, the budget's like 700 billion, which is already more bigger than the next 10 countries. But that's just like the obvious accounting for the budget. They're not counting for other stuff that is all military related or tangentially like power projection related. That can
And all
easily be
this
$1
is,
trillion
like-
dollars.
all this is just cost, right? Because like they don't make money. Like having bases in these islands, they don't generate money, right? They're not selling anything.
No, of
like-
course not.
There's no tourism, right? You can't like visit, Area 51 or anything like that. So like, how do they?
Before I
They're
get
just
into
spending
that,
money.
that,
Okay.
I think it's funny that Biden asked because to me it just sounds like he's just fucking old and he just forgot. He forgot where he was. It sounds like that. He just had like a stroke of Alzheimer's or some shit.
Oh,
I
yeah,
bet
'cause he was in
Trump
that
would have had
position
a
where he
lot
shouldn't
more
know.
stupid questions though.
Trump was funnier because every day the president gets a brief, an intelligence brief and a military intelligence brief every day, right? And it's pretty. It depends on how comprehensive it is. Even the summaries are usually comprehensive. And then Trump was like, "Fuck, this is too long. Just give me like a fucking page or some shit like that." During his presidency, it was the best. And then they tried. I think they summarized it down into one page, and he still didn't read it most of the time.
Of course, I believe that.
That was the best part. And now we got Joe, where he'll read it, and then he'll just forget about it the next, in the next hour. Hey, where am I? This is the best. I want to believe that is the timeline. That the timeline we live in is Joe literally forgot that he was the president, so then he had to ask them, Wait, do we have military bases over there again? And who am I? Am I the president now? But
Well, the book was called Base Nation: How U.S. Military Bases Abort, Harm America and the World, and it's by David Vine.
no,
Was the
he
book.
Wait, what?
who gives a
That
shit.
was the
No,
book.
like okay, so
Okay,
the
go ahead.
Pentagon every year also comes out with like a white paper, basically.
A white paper
Yeah, it's
based on their own research. It's all opinions,
no, yeah.
Anyway.
A lot of it is just like threat assessment, and usually the threat
and
assessment.
it's like who peer reviews it? Anyway,
Nothing.
right,
It's
right.
just like an insider threat assessment. Usually it plays up threats to ask for a bigger budget and some shit. But like every year they have some
Right.
shit like that. But anyways, back to
Should-
why. Back to
Shouldn't it
why
become based on their enemies?
they do always
Right.
do it based on enemies. Back then, during like the war on terror, and like you would think that like the Islamic insurgency was going to take over the world if you read these like white papers, which is they're all like saying, oh, you have to beef up counterinsurgency. You need way more money to beef all this shit up. You know, now in our timeline, it's Pentagon white papers now is China. It's like, oh, you need to fucking buy the news. You need to invest in the 6th generation fighter jet to counter the near peer adversaries or some shit like
I
that.
feel like there's a division called enemies or frenemies, where it's like once we need a new enemy, right? Because in order
Always.
to keep it fueling, you always need a new baddie.
Yeah,
Like-
they always do. Like even Russia still makes it in now. There's no Soviet Union anymore, but Russia still makes it in all the time.
So in reality, they always have they don't always have allies. They need enemies more than allies because it fuels them more in terms of money.
Yeah, pretty much. Like they only exist. It's kind of like it's a feedback loop because America needs a large military, and they need a large military because of the threats, and because of the threats, they need a large military. So and to need a large military, they need threats for the military to justify
Well,
being that.
and
big.
also because the bigger you get, the bigger you become more of a threat to others, and then other people will have to threaten you.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. There's
Or
no
they'll feel like they need to threaten you.
exactly. There's no like fucking. There's no grand strategy plan in China or Russia to invade the United States or to attack the United States, right? There's nothing like that. And that's what the grift is in America. They have to make it so these guys are the Red Dawn scare, right? Like, so they say like we have to. What are you defending then? If it's not really America, then it's like stuff like, oh well, the world order. For China, literally, that what they say is we're defending the current world order. They're upending the world order, right? So
Right.
it's literal. Just they're selling you a grift on why they need a fucking they need to have this military to act as a deterrence, right? This trillion
Couldn't they
dollar.
convert it to crazy idea? Couldn't they convert this into like a theme park, kind of like Disneyland? Like say you're in Europe and you're like, hey, I want to go. Like when you go to Disneyland, you feel like you're back in U.S., right? Because a lot of the food are U.S. based.
Yeah,
Like these military is also the same too. These military camps, they have like American theaters, they have like American food. It's kind of like you could totally make it like a theme park.
yeah.
based on
Make it into a
military bases.
spy's paradise.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's why they don't do it because a lot of shit is like confidential stuff, right? You can't just walk onto a military base and just fucking start riding in a jet or some shit like that. The amount of money you would generate from theoretical ticket sales wouldn't even count enough for like the fucking fuel that they use to fly. Like it's just literally it's a make work program, but it's also an empire projection program. But one of the reasons like you would look at this and say, wow, this is a big waste of money. It is a fucking waste of money. Like the United States is gutting itself over it. But for them, the thing is they need in their minds, the people that make these policies and are fully invested in the United States being the like being the big boss of the world, there's no point of return for them, and they need they need this world spanning military. They need to have like power projection. They need to have this threat of force always all the time, or else everything comes down, crumbling down. Right, so it's not like it's like yes, it's a big money drain, but it's literally there to keep them in the place that they are now. Like people want to wonder why. Okay, well, how can like why can America keep printing money? Why does everybody trade in American dollars? Why does America have all this say in everything? One of the big backers of why they can do this is because they have a military that enforces it all over the world, right? Like you're gonna trade in U.S. dollars. You're gonna for most of the things. You're going like and the confidence, even if you're printing money, even if you're issuing QE and all that shit, people still have confidence in the U.S. dollars in part because they have faith in the United States as a country that they're good for their debts or whatever. And one of the ways they're good for their debts is they have this huge military that can, if push comes to shove, they can go in and fuck shit up. So then that's why they're invested in this. It's the same reason why Rome had huge fucking armies and shit. They to exist at that point as an empire, for Rome and the United States. Now, like you're just no point in return. So like if you want to stay as an empire, you need this huge hulking fucking military force, and you gotta spend $1 trillion to keep it alive. It's like a black hole that you need to throw everything into. But like that's why they're not like they're not gonna make the next American military theme park. They're not gonna fucking start renting shit out like Rent-A-Cop. That's their essence of their power. So that's much more than fucking trying to make it into the black on the accounting books. They gladly sink $700 billion on the books into this, and upwards of $1 trillion in real money. They always vote on this stuff. Military stuff passes all the time.
Yeah, they do. It's strange.
So so when like Bernie Sanders says something like, "Oh, I want to cut the military spending because I want to use it to, I don't know, fucking like use it towards funding healthcare or some shit." Like even if you're a Democrat,
Some shit.
yeah, even if you're a Democrat, you're like, nope, we gotta kill this, nip this in the bud. There's no way you can have this. So like, but it's just how Rome fell because it just ate itself in the end. America's just eating itself all the way till the end, right?
You would think that because like GPS is an American base, and like they control it, right? They gave it to the world for free, but basically by giving it, they say they have all the say, right? And I don't know if many people know about it, but GPS has two signals. One's a civilian signal, but there's a military signal that's encrypted, and only the military has it. So like basically their accuracy is a lot more precise than the civilian version of it.
Yeah, man. We talked about this
Oh.
before. Yeah, the military version is like good to a couple meters of accuracy, where the civilian one you get blurred out if you try to zoom into your house.
Well, now with modern technology, we're pretty good. Like we are in a couple of centimeters and millimeters and stuff. Like the military always did it in centimeters. That's actually quite good. But in the technologies that we have, even though we can't decrypt the military, you can still use it. So it still gives you some accuracy. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, like they already have a lot of strongholds on the world, right? So how much more do they need?
They always want more. They always want more. They're not gonna be like, oh, we've had enough. We've had more than our share. I think we've had more than.
It's to hold their currency.
That is a part of it. Like I said, like one of the things that
Like
backs
anything
it.
that attacks American currency or American power in their money wise, that's where it is, right? They need to be on top because once they fall down, the whole ball chain just keeps falling.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
And
So
the dollar right now, and like entire world is run on debt, right? Like everything is run on credit and debt. Like
everyone knows everyone.
Well, no, it's basically run on the confidence that this money is good, like this money can get paid back. The futures, the debt, the credit that is getting issued, it's all,
Yeah,
especially in U.S. dollars, it's all within the confidence and belief that the U.S. dollar is
So
good. It
could
can't
you
get
replace
paid
that
back.
word with trust then? Like money is like trust.
But no,
Anyways.
like debt has to be backed by something, right? Like it's
Right.
you're not like on something that you can physically exchange, right?
You
like
have my
gold.
word.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the backing is the military is one of the it is one of the pillars of this confidence in this U.S.
Oh,
run
I see.
system. So
It's
it's not like
yeah.
100% because the military exists, the U.S. dollar is good. No, but it's like it is a big part of it.
Yeah.
It is one of those things that is a portion of the confidence in like
I
the
guess it's kind of like working out and just having muscle. Is the confidence like, ah, shit, I need to trust this guy because he could beat me up. But okay, so when we're talking about U.S. money, like I remember seeing a lot of headlines saying like they're printing so much money that is like 1/5 of all of U.S. dollars in existence has been created in 1 year, kind of thing.
okay.
And people are worried about inflation and stuff. Like, is this a sign that their money is crumbling, or
Well, like in the long term, yeah, it's not a good. That's the only thing they can do is just to issue like more debt and treasuries. But it's like people sometimes have a wrong like they picture it wrong. They when they say like, oh, we're gonna start quantitative easing, they're just thinking, oh, they're gonna print out more U.S. money, U.S. dollars, like literally just turning on the fucking cash printing machines and just to fucking issue all like, it's not necessarily that way. Like every day, just in normal operation, like the mint prints out money, just for whatever, just covering fucking lost bills in circulation or whatever the fuck. But every day, it prints out, it issues like the credit that they estimate that should be flowing in the economy, right? What the fucking thing that is actually like a problem is when they do like the guarantee when they issue out the new treasury bills, or they issue out like fucking buyouts of them, like the buyouts of the treasury bills with the Fed and all that shit. It's basically like, yeah, you're using kind of like borrowed money to fucking pay borrowed money, right? And to guarantee other borrowed money, right? And like none of this it really exists. It's just based on the guarantee, like the confidence that like this debt is good. So that's why it's like, okay, well, they can keep that. When they say like they've turned on the taps, that's what they mean. It's not like literally they're making dollar bills, but they're just loading up on just more debt, right? And a Canada, like a country like Canada, like Greece back then, like they couldn't do that in Greece because like when they went through their financial crisis and shit, it's not like Greece can like fucking keep on buying, like issuing their like fucking currency and whatever and buy Greek debt, because at some point people were like, yeah, this Greek debt is no good, we're getting out of it, right? But the US, you can't really say, people aren't really saying like, oh, this US debt is no good, we're getting out of it. It's just like, oh, this US debt is always good, right? So like, okay, so if they fucking issue more debt and for money, usually it's like a lot of other countries in the world have to kind of adjust to it because they all hold US dollars, and they have to kind of adjust to like this thrust of supply of like US dollars denominated debt that's like thrust to the world, right? So it's yeah, the whole system is kind of run on a confidence in the United States of America, financially.
well, that's all I had about the military bases. I thought it was interesting.
It is, but
That was interesting.
it's one of those things that's gonna blow up in everybody's face eventually. And
Well, I'm proposing this theme park thing. That's
what theme park or
That's-
no theme park is gonna blow up in everybody's face eventually. Like the
Hopefully
F-35,
not literally.
the F-35 itself, the entire program cost like $1 trillion, like up till now, pretty much. So like no matter how many fucking theme parks you make out to try to fucking cover that, you're not gonna be able to. It's forever
But, like,
red.
They're trying, right?
It's forever
Well,
red.
I mean, these jets are really fast, right? Could they like take over FedEx? Like if they promise like super fast delivery, because they can fly
No,
faster.
they can't deliver shit.
That
They
would
only deliver
definitely not be
bombs
worth
to your
it.
house. So if you want, unless you want to FedEx like fucking destruction onto your family, like they're not gonna make any kind of profit.
Unless they were to replace the explosive payload with, just a box of, whatever Amazon box or something. You'd have to pay like probably millions of dollars per package though.
Yeah, it's not cheap. You're not, and you'll get 1 day delivery for sure, but it's not cheap.
It better be within the same day. It better be like within the freaking 6 hours or something.
You go within 20. Yeah,
It'll
within
go
continental
right through the
U.S.
roof.
Within 10 hours,
Go
you'll
right
get your
through the
package.
roof.
Yeah,
Sorry, what do you say, Bill?
go right through the
It'll
roof.
go right through the roof of your house. It won't even
Oh.
go your front door. Just air bomb it right into your house.
If you could afford that shipping, you could afford a new roof.
But
Interesting.
yeah, but in case anybody was wondering, I don't think anybody's wondering, but usually in the society we live right now, inflation is all happens all the time. Like it's kind of by design that they try to limit it within like 3% or maybe a little bit lower. But it's
Yeah.
like it's by design. So
That's true.
if they want like you want a growing economy, it's like there's going to be necessarily inflation baked into it. Just based on the current system that we have.
I guess you can't have a growing economy without inflation.
Sort of, yeah, that's kind of precisely it. Like the inflation itself is kind of accounting for that growth.
Yeah. So
Because-
then, do you ever really make more money?
well, like
Yeah.
ideally in a capitalist society, your growth, your economic growth is supposed to be over inflation. So
Right.
so if your inflation's at 2%, like, and your economic growth in a developed country is usually like 5%, and developing countries usually you can get somewhere up to even double digits.
But then,
Then
minimum
you're good,
wage
you're
doesn't
golden.
follow this, right? Minimum wage does not follow this trend.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, you can get countries that have minimum wage based on that factors in inflation. But like just minimum wage is all just like fucking it's just all like bottom feeder shit anyways, right? Like
Well, no, that's why we try to raise the minimum wage to $15, right? Just to account for the losses of the years of
yes, our country
wage.
and America, like we don't have an automatic thing where minimum wage rises with inflation. You gotta have to like vote on it every so often. So, like so that's why you get these stupid things. Some other countries, especially the Scandinavian ones, I forget which ones specifically, but I think their minimum wage is kind of anchored
Let's
to
just throw
inflation.
Denmark in there.
Yeah, so then it's not like they have to, like fucking pass like a motion every time to say, oh, we gotta raise it because our minimum wage is flat at whatever, like, $15 or whatever, and
Yeah.
you gotta go through like fucking parliament each time you want to raise it. I mean, I think in their
Yeah.
laws is it's minimum wage is X plus inflation or whatever, or a percentage of inflation.
I think that's how it should be. Probably better. Because then you don't have the situation where you're the in-between states. Because if you do a vote for it, minimum wage will go up, and then everyone that's not earning minimum wage, technically their wage has fallen because their buying power has fallen, right?
Ideally,
But if
you
it's
wouldn't even need
progressively.
ideally you wouldn't even need minimum wage at all. Ideally, like you wouldn't have to be so beholden to fucking just paying a floor wage on a lot of this shit that like you won't even need the fucking concept of a minimum wage. But sure, like if
Yeah,
in the
but
absence of nothing,
World
yeah,
is not ideally.
in the absence of nothing, yeah, okay, a minimum wage that is gauged to inflation is better. It is better than what we have now. But yeah, you had these you had these gold bugs like Peter Schiff that was basically saying, oh, we should just go back to the gold standard because back then the money was based on gold. It's based on something. It's not just fiat money or pretend money, right? But it's like the whole reason they took it off is because with gold you have to because you have to hold physical gold to back up the money. You hit a limit. At some point, like you just don't grow anymore because your money supply is just literally hits a ceiling. And then it's like a simple exercise to kind of get this is like imagine that like you paid like just a really simple exercise. Imagine everybody was paid by like fucking popsicles or some shit or just something that you hold in a freezer or a fridge, right? Imagine like you fucking there's like this small economy going in your neighborhood where you got like teenagers or whoever to mow your lawn for fucking popsicles or whatever, right? And then you always kept like, like you can hold 30 popsicles in your fridge, right? And then maybe you start off with like maybe one person like mowing your lawn for a popsicle each time. And then you can refill your fridge, fucking every so often to make it back up to 30 popsicles, right? Eventually, maybe you get so big that you got 30 kids mowing your lawn, and after each fucking job, you pay them all like 30 popsicles and shit, right? At some point, if you want to have more than 30 kids mowing your lawn, you're gonna have to need more popsicles. You're gonna need a bigger fridge or some shit like that, right? And if you don't, they're not gonna mow your shit anymore, unless you can guarantee them that it's like, oh, I give you an IOU, right? And then once you start giving those IOUs and shit, like you can just say like, well, fuck it, like do away with the whole fucking popsicles in the fridge and everything. Like we're issuing it on fiat. Like I'm promising you, I got 50 kids. I don't have a fridge that can hold 50 popsicles, but the leftover 20 kids that don't have a physical popsicle in the fridge, I'm guaranteeing you that I'm gonna give you your popsicle when you do this job.
Wait,
So
why
like
do they call it a fiat?
fiat, it's just like it's made up. It's like artificial. It's not based on anything. At least
So
like,
how come there's a car called fiat?
I don't know.
is that-
Fucking I don't know. It's from probably some Latin root word.
That's
I don't
what I had
fucking
in
know.
mind when you said fiat too,
Yeah,
though.
fiat currency,
Yeah.
but it's fiat money. It's not like car fucking fiat money. But anyways, that's the whole fucking point. Like you're at that point, you're issuing IOUs. And then that will be your inflation. Like because you've inflated it. Like your popsicle is not one per one. It's not one per one popsicle anymore. It's actually going to be more than that, right?
I'd rather get a fiat than a
So
popsicle.
have you ever pulled that on someone where you don't have enough cash? You just rate them an IOU. You be like, don't worry, I'm good for
You
it.
just say, did you ever pole dance on somebody?
Yes.
I never pole dance on anybody before. Should be on a bucket list. I'm not sure it should be
Pole
on my
dance on-
bucket list though. I have no desire to. But no,
you have a wife, you could do that if you wanted.
like if you're
Well,
if
like
you're low
you're
on,
saying, the concept of money is basically the same thing. Why can't an IOU from Sinton be worth as much as a $5 bill, right?
because you can't issue. Okay, yeah, in a way it is, right? But in a way it is like when you borrow money that you can't, if you don't have cash on you. If you're one of those people that you don't have cash on you, but you gotta borrow from your friends, it is kind of that kind of same concept. But you put it up to like a country level, then it's like it is kind of the same concept, but there's a lot more fucking like big moving parts in it,
And countries, they accept things like what do you call favors, right? In exchange of like debt. They're like, oh yeah, if you go to war with us, then we could take off like 500 mil off the debt or something like that.
Well, I mean, like, there's debt forgiveness for like some African countries that are just borrow money for development and shit. But I mean, it's kind of a. I feel like if I say like, oh yeah, it's exactly like that, you're gonna get the wrong impression of something. Like, just literally the economy itself is based on debt. Like, it's all based on fucking debt and inflation. Like it because they want the economy has to grow. There has to be inflation for that growth, right?
It's such a weird concept that like
And to grow,
we're
it's all made
we're
up.
always
Yeah,
owing.
it is. Everything is based on like you're
Like,
owing
is there-
something.
So why are people always so concerned about like, oh, how we're ever gonna pay this back kind of thing? Like, especially during COVID, where the government is taking on so much debt.
They
Like,
have.
people are so
Yeah, they have, because they have at least some sort of a deal where it's like, debt usually isn't a good thing or some shit like that, right?
But I mean, if we live in a world where everyone always owes everyone, like, why do we worry about even paying it off? Even if you pay it off, you're just gonna owe them again anyways, right?
Because if you just say no, a lot of bad things happen, and that's why people don't like it. it's that experiment where you shock the mouse and fucking bad things happen.
I guess it's like always saying, "Oh, can you cover it for me?" And then you just keep asking for it, but you never have the intention of paying.
For other countries that aren't America and don't produce anything, that's one of the other key things as well. You will not get shit anymore. Like, if you're a country that you don't produce anything, and you are not America, so you can't issue U.S. dollars. If you fucking have a run on your debt, if you default and shit, and all of a sudden like just fucking everybody pulls their investments from you and you can't borrow money anymore, that means you can't trade anymore. If you are trading by like US dollar accounts, like foreign exchange accounts, you can't trade anymore. So um like North Korea, Venezuela and shit, that was literally like you can't get stuff going into the country anymore. So you get boned. Like it's just that will be like the real world equivalent where you can't buy shit anymore.
Right.
Uh, the big caveat on why people like if they're just thinking about just what debt is to them personally, and what debt is to a country, the big thing that people get hung up on and can't get past is for a country, if you are dealing with like you're issuing your own money, and if you're the United States where your own money is the world's money, what the world trades by, or if you're a country that can manufacture something like Germany or China especially is a big one, you necessarily don't like you don't really exactly kind of follow that dynamic. Everything your economic growth would more likely, if you're not just issuing US dollars, will be pegged to your production. And that's what people don't get about like debt to a country, is if you have the productive capacity, you are not fucking just owing money. If you don't necessarily need, it's okay. It's good to have U.S. dollars, but you don't necessarily like if you don't have none, it's not necessarily going to cripple you, especially if you're self-sufficient enough where you can produce most of the stuff in your own country. Production is what fucking underpins everything. And the way the US dollar even became a fucking worldwide thing was because of the US production capacity after World War II. And like giving fucking loans to Europe to rebuild based on US dollars, and which was also based on gold at the time, but production was what they were exchanging, right?
You were saying U.S. money is the world's money.
Yeah, it became the world money just because of from World War II, the U.S. production.
So
And
how can it be less than other countries' money? Like how can Canadian dollars at one time was higher than the world's money? Shouldn't the world's money always be the highest?
no. Like it's basically like this is how it works, right? Like this is why it's based on the production. Oh, Jason has to go. All right, good night, Jason. He's gone already. Okay. This is why it's based on the production, because
Or
if you imagine you're a country that can't produce anything, but if you're trading with a country that can produce something, right? Especially what happened with most of Europe back then, a lot of shit was destroyed. They couldn't even produce their own shit anymore, right? Because of World War II. Most of their factories, whatever, destroyed. So what the US did was whole Marshall Plan was you lend them money, right? You lend them a whole shit ton of money that they use that money that they lent. You lend them US dollars. They use this US dollars to buy US products, because US dollars it's exchangeable in the United States.
Isn't that the same? So isn't that just like we giving you stuff?
Yeah,
Why,
it is.
Why do they need to go the extra layer of let's give you money so you can give it back to us to give you resources?
Okay, it's just kind of like you're just using the money for exchange. That's literally
Yeah,
it.
but
You
it's like
I mean, you could ship
like-
it too. You could just say like, okay, well, I'm gonna exchange you a fucking, like a machine lathe or some shit, right? But you still need to account for that somehow, right? Like you're not giving it to you. It's basically like, okay, you get that, and then you need interest back. So you might as well just give them the dollars as the accounting product.
I just think that like if I want to buy an iPhone, it's like I need to buy. Apple's giving me money for me to go to their web store to buy the iPhone. Just seems all.
Well, if you get into a certain circumstance, you do get some store credit for shit, right?
Okay.
Right? Literally,
Yeah.
like, imagine, imagine
I get what you're
in a way, it's like, imagine you went through a hurricane, and in one of the stores, I don't know, maybe it's a fucking government run like FEMA store. It gives you credit to use to exchange for shit that you lost, like furniture or whatever, right? But you gotta pay this back eventually. And then, they're going to settle the accounts using dollars directly, as exchange for the store credit, right? It's kind of that way with the U.S. dollars itself. It's like you borrow, you're letting you give them, you loan them the money for them to use to rebuild themselves, and then in the rebuilding themselves, once they can like you start building themselves again and start to produce more shit to export back to you to try to pay back that debt, then then that's how they like rebuild themselves, right? You give them the money to purchase, to buy the goods that they need to rebuild themselves, and in rebuilding themselves, if they once they can start producing shit themselves, or at least earn whatever on exchange to pay back the interest, then that's how the whole fucking Marshall Plan worked. And when the U.S. did that, literally the circulation of U.S. dollars for all these countries, to use and shit, that became the world trading standard. That's why U.S. dollars are the world trading standard. It's the world's. If you're gonna settle accounts, usually you're gonna for like 90% of the cases it's in U.S. dollars, right? And that's why it's tied to production. Because if you're China, you can actually do a currency swap with like renminbi with Chinese yuan because China produces things. You can actually use that yuan to buy producible goods, right? So if you're a country like Iran or whatever, right? And you have the option of just buying stuff with US dollars, I guess, if you have it in your like foreign exchange reserves, right? But with a country like China, if you like if you had a problem, you don't have enough US dollars to trade or whatever, you could say, oh, okay, well, let's just do like a bilateral trade thing where, like you can exchange, you can work out a deal to exchange like Iranian money for Chinese yuan, and then use that yuan to buy Chinese goods. So in that way, you import Chinese goods using Chinese money because you can settle the accounts in China using yuan, right, instead of US dollars. But like that, literally, you need a country that can produce things, and not every country is China. So most of the countries, most of the countries' trade exchange is all going to be in US dollars. So they use this kind of one currency as the standard money. And then, like the normal, like the exchange is just based on like the fucking the volume flows of US dollars to local currency, whatever.
All right, and I guess it's based on production and so forth.
Well, local currency is just, it's just based on local economic exchange and shit, right? Yeah, so it's like fucking the goods that you have inside your own country.
Okay. Well, anyways, let's move on, I suppose. I have nothing to add. Do you have anything to add, though?
No, it's just I don't know. That's how I kind of know it to be, but I can't explain it as well as Zinzin though.
True.
Why don't I just gaslight all of you? What if I just told you all fucking lies?
No, because I kind of know a little bit about it. Not enough to explain it like you did, but I don't know. I thought it was
Nobody
all
knows
common
if you're
knowledge.
lying.
No, I just thought it was all common knowledge kind of thing.
Look at the flex. Oh, you didn't know about this?
No,
Brian?
it's just it's like, haven't you ever like once in your life asked why is the US so powerful? And you just kind of just look into it a little bit. That's kind of
Well, he asked the question now, so maybe he didn't know about. He didn't really think about it before.
Well, I don't know. I guess so. Anyway, let's talk about the stock market's going crazy.
Oh God.
Which what stock?
Actually, I was looking at Well, I've been hearing on the radio about GameStop, and then
it's going back up again, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but I was just kind of wondering why they keep mentioning GameStop, and then I kind of looked into it. It was I don't really know too much about it. I was hoping you guys might know a little bit more, but it was basically Reddit going crazy, saying people are buying shorts for GameStop.
Yeah, they're
and then
shorting
people
this.
wanted to.
so they
shorting. Wanted to.
No.
They wanted to screw the people over.
Yeah, the Redditors aren't shorting. It's the hedge funds that were shorting it, and then
they were shorting it, and then Reddit was saying, "Let's screw them over," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they started investing into it, and then from I think
what used to be $6 when people started shorting them, went up to 14, and then all the way up to the highest was about 370 or 350 or something like that.
Basically, it's kind of
That's
just laying.
insane.
It's just laying bare that this whole thing is just a fucking. It's based on nothing. It's based on just basically a like pay to play, and there's it's nothing really fundamentally technical about all this shit. It's basically it's just run on like power relations basically. And you know, like fucking these guys from Reddit and whoever just felt like, yo, let's just fucking pump a bunch of money and fucking kill the shorts.
Is it just kind of all out of spite, or is there more to it?
Sort
I
of
don't
like maybe there was the initial bumps, maybe it wasn't, but a lot of it was driven by just like fucking people just plowing money into GameStop, the shorts. Like they found out that, you know, like a bunch of hedge funds are shorting it, so they're betting that the stock price will fall and they'll make money on that bet.
Well, and it was right to do so because, GameStop announced a whole bunch of closures, right?
Yeah. Like it's going out, so yeah, like yeah, if you're following the textbook, the trader's textbook, that's sort of like, yeah, that's what you should do. But people did the opposite position, right?
Yeah,
Kind
I
of
think in
just like a
reality,
kind of thing.
GameStop probably was worth more than $6. Like, right? So
In reality, most of these valuations are literally just made fucking up. It's just it's you know, like at the very you say it's based on market principles, but the market itself,
Is made up.
it's not a fucking tangible thing. It is literally, as you saw during the GameStop thing, it's just literally people wanting to fucking plow money to it,
there's
and they
There
do
are-
this all the time. Like you pump stocks, you short stocks, all happens all the time. There's hedge funds and shit. They're professional. This is how they make a living, right? They find shit to short, they find shit to pump, and like fucking like
it's just gambling. Is
It
what
is
what
gambling.
you're trying to say.
all you need is the
gambling, yeah.
connections and the money to gamble. Like you have the connections. Like one of the hedge funds needed to get bailed out by another capital fund. So all these players, they're all counted.
Is it bailed out or they just got bought out in a sense?
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just, they just like, oh, we needed liquidity or some
No,
shit, right?
I think it's bailed out because a lot of these stock companies, but even banks, they they loan each other money.
Yeah.
And they do it on purpose, kind of thing. I forgot what the reasoning was.
Yeah, it's not like
But I kind of looked it up.
yeah, it's not like a selling of their own stocks. It's just, yeah, they need some capital. They get a bailout like from another capital fund or whatever, which
Yeah.
they may have to. They're gonna probably
It's
pay it
almost
back.
like
They just need it to cover their short.
is
And
that,
then if they
is
can
that how
cover their
gambling
short.
works too? Like if you lose big on gambling, do you just go to your buddy, hey man, can you bail me out? And they're like, yeah, no worries. They'll just give you a bunch of chips.
No, this is even worse than that, because it's like, oh, you know, in gambling, it's like, oh, you're always going to lose against the house, right? But in
Yeah.
the real world stock market, you can see that the house literally changed the rules of the game as you're playing it. That's why it's all fucking based on nothing.
Well, I mean, casinos could technically do that too.
No, well, no, it's like you can't change the rules of fucking like blackjack as you're playing the game. You can't just say the casino can't say, oh, 22 is now good, like instead of 21. Like, but in the stock market, and especially if you get political power and big money interest involved, like you can do shit like that. Like,
wait, why
Or a
can't
big
casinos
YouTube
say
following.
22 is good though? I don't understand why can't casino just say 22 is good?
because you can't, you fucking
As you-
can't say
as you're
22
playing.
is good.
Can't the pit boss go up to the dealer and be like, sorry, we're changing the rule. 22 is good now.
No, because whatever authority like governs the casinos will be like, no, this is you're gonna lose your license. Like you can't do that shit, right? But in the stock market, if you're a big player, like the SEC doesn't really matter that much. It's like especially if you need to cover losses, like even at the point where the country can step in and either stop trading or they need to pump liquidity, like they did during 2008. Like they can do that. Like the rules change. If you're a regular investor, you run out of money or you lose in the stock market, that's it. But if you're like if you hold the capital of like your entire citizenry in your society, and they fucking bet big on like CDOs or whatever the fuck they were called, and they lost, then and they all started crumbling. The government came in to fucking fucking bail them out, or else they were afraid that a society would collapse. So yeah, if you were too big, that's where too big to fail comes. Whereas like you're too big, they cannot afford for you to fail, like how you would fail normally if you bet wrong and you lost.
So then in GameStop, do people feel like they were able to stick a finger to the man, or was
to a
it
certain
just
point. But remember, like trading fucking stopped. Like some of these platforms, they stopped trading. Like they forcibly.
Oh, wasn't that because they were saying that they were just covering their they don't have enough capital to cover it, and that's why some trading stopped. Some of
Yeah,
the
there's a
apps
whole
stopped
bunch of
trading.
that they're trying to bury you in technicalities. Like, oh, they can say, oh yeah,
Mm.
we need to be able to cover all this shit all the time, and stuff like that. But it's like literally,
Mm-hmm.
they're not the regulate. Like, like they themselves stopped it. Like that it's kind of a bare limp dick excuse because if you're a brokerage, you can get the money to cover the fucking trades and shit, right? Like it's, and if you are like the platform hoster and shit, there are ways in the system where if there is a big trade and shit happening, like there's stuff you can do, but basically the rules, it's not really based on the rules, they didn't do anything wrong, right? The people that
Yeah,
were
they play
trading
by the
GameStop,
rules that
yeah, they
always
were literally
changes.
playing by the rules, but people looked at this and they're like, no, we gotta stop it, nip this in the bud before it gets a little bit out of control, and so they
Mm-hmm.
can come in and they say, well, we'll stop trading or whatever, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
was the whole point. They were playing by the rules. They did everything by the rules, but because fucking this, because the people in charge and the people that host the platforms viewed it as an aberration, and like fucking real moneyed interest was kind of getting nervous at this. Like I said, they changed the rules right in the middle of the game. Like they stopped the play. Even if you weren't cheating, you were hitting the blackjack. They still were like, nope, it's done. You're done trading for the day and fucking cool it down and all that shit. Like they stopped you from being able to buy more GameStop stock
Well,
for a
I do have
period
a
of time.
segue on this one, but Billy, do you have any other
No,
discussions?
I was just kind of wondering what you guys thought about it. And well, I have another topic in mind,
It's
but
Oh,
just
we
okay.
can keep going.
it's just more of these things will just be bare for people to see that like fucking shit is not good. Like there's not stuff is not healthy. It's not good. You're going fucking down the cliff eventually. Like these are like the signs of the apocalypse if you're American.
Yeah. Well, actually, since you're the guest here, Billy,
Oh,
why don't you
oh,
talk about your topic first?
no, no, just another kind of thing that I was just wondering the whole Canada trying to label China's whatever as genocide.
Oh god.
Was that
Oh
Uighur?
god, you're
Oh,
gonna get me
the
going.
Uyghur, the
Well, I
Uyghur
gotta go
thing.
take a
Yeah,
piss first.
Oh, now we're gonna have to talk about Mulan, and now we got
no, because like what happened was basically the Uyghur. I can't say the name properly. I'm sorry. I'm just
Uyghur.
the name
Yeah,
is
that's how I
difficult
heard
for
it.
me. Uyghur. Okay, the
That's
Uyghur
what I think it
community.
is.
Yeah, the Uyghur community is kind of like asking Canada to change the treatment of the Chinese government to genocide, and I don't really see changing the language of anything really affects it. Oh, does it
What did
really
I
affect
miss?
anything? Like, I mean,
Billy's just laying out the situation about the Uyghurs trying to change the term to genocide and
Oh
asking
yeah, yeah,
Canada.
yeah, yeah. It's all
yeah,
of.
like I mean, like, does it really change anything in the outcome? Like, I mean, I guess you can kind of pressure China a little bit, but really, China's on its own, right? It doesn't really care about what other people
They
think.
play by their own rules.
Yeah, so like, really, will it change anything at all?
No, it's not.
And
It's just a grift.
honestly,
It's kind of like
huh?
I think it's just a fucking show. That's all it is. And I think it's my own take is that Aaron O'Toole is kind of using it's kind of just playing this as set up for the next election. So then it's basically setting up the pieces so then he can get some advantages and get some momentum going into the next election, the next whatever federal election it is. Because I think the
How does it help
conservatives,
the
well, the
next
conservatives want to play
election?
that card where it's like Trudeau's too weak. It's not standing up for Canada on the world stage, especially against China, right? And then Aaron O'Toole can say like, I'm the Conservative Party is the one that's took a stand for human rights and brought the parliamentary vote for the Uyghurs. label it a genocide. Trudeau didn't want to get in on any of it at all, and shit like that. I think it's literally a grift because it can't do anything. It can't do anything effectively at all, and also you know
No,
like
but it would affect our trades towards China because we're not doing very well with trades anyways with them because the whole
yeah
Huawei thing, right?
yeah.
And
So
A
the
far away
iPhones.
lady.
you know if
Yeah.
if they do this all the time because the opposition party will also always like shit on the ruling one, and then once they get into power, like Aaron O'Toole will say he's tough on China now, and once he gets into power, he probably will back off likely.
Yeah.
But it's all a grift anyways, and it's literally just based on bullshit. Like the
I
whole
feel
thing
like this is
bullshit.
like a Black Lives Matter issue where there's like, all right, we gotta let the people speak and put some poster on, change some names on Jeremiah.
In a way, it's just literally going for the show. But like for Black Lives Matter, you at least you can point to black people getting fucking shot, right? Like whether you whichever side you fall onto it, whether you're like the fucking pro police, oh the black people fucking like they were criminals, or you fall under the fuck the police and they're literally murdering black people. Whatever side, at least you can point to real fucking things that you can see, right? What the Uyghur thing, it's literally bullshit. Like there's no other way to actually. I've never seen a genocide where like the population fucking explodes since the founding of the country. What the fuck? Isn't that the exact opposite? Like there's not even like the technical cultural genocide going on. Like if show me where the fuck it is. Like you can see the fucking writing in Uyghur language on the money. The whole problem was like fucking Uyghurs not knowing how to speak Mandarin. And then they're like, oh, well, fuck, we can't get much jobs and shit. And then they're like, okay, well, you gotta offer some courses in Mandarin then. That's not fucking cultural genocide. Otherwise, Canada's taking part in the cultural genocide because we're all speaking English right now instead of speaking Chinese.
I mean, technically it is.
Well, we have French.
We don't
my
hear,
Chinese.
we're not speaking in the Native American language, right? So literally, like we've like we're probably
I
if
would
you
love
want
to learn Blackfoot. What are
if
you
they're
talking
if they're if they're actually gonna really be on this cultural genocide, I think the very fact that none of us are speaking any Native American languages while living in this country, we're basically fucking mass murderers. The entire country is just a fucking genocidal country if we're using that exact same like whatever standards that they're using, which is not even good. It's bullshit.
Well, that might be the news in China, but the news in Canada, they're saying that they're putting people in prisons and what is it? What else? I don't know. Prisons.
It's all it is. Yeah, it is bullshit. Like most of it was like I said this last time, but there was a lot of where like they literally take clips of not that at all, and then they say, "Oh yeah, it's them putting in the prison or some shit."
It's the editing. It's the
yeah.
cuts.
It was the kind of
Interesting
cuts.
cuts.
Like the most you can say is in Xinjiang, because they had the terrorist attacks back then for a long period of time, and even now, like if you had like a place of residency Xinjiang as your like on your ID card, like your 身份证, usually like some like you might get discriminated against. Like some hotels might say like you can't stay here or whatever, right? Just because they're afraid of like the stigma from like the terrorist attacks back then in 2014. Like even if you were Han, if you were not Uyghur, if you were a Han from Xinjiang, they may be nervous to check you in on some places or whatever. Or you might get more ID checks when you go through like the train station if they see that you're from Xinjiang or whatever, right? And then like sending Uyghurs that they thought were more extremists to fucking these schools, these re-education centers where like you can actually go, for most of them you literally just go home on the weekends, if right. That was the problem. And then you could say like, yeah, if you fall into that category, it kind of sucks for you, because it's either you get discriminated against if you were going to other parts of China and you want to stay at some places, which is a bigger problem back then, not so much now. Or if you're one of those Uyghurs that, you had a cousin or something that literally went to Syria to fight and got caught, and then they're like, okay, well, you have a family member that's an extremist, you gotta enroll, you gotta come to this fucking education camp or whatever, education center, and do these courses or whatever, right? These like anti-terrorism courses, then they would suck for you. That is not what the fuck they're trying to portray here. They're trying to portray like it's a fucking like it's like Auschwitz, right? And that's not what it's going on at all. And then I think the problem is like nobody's gonna come up with a perfectly clean way to deal with like a radicalization of extremists. But like comparatively to most of these other countries, China doesn't have a Guantanamo Bay where you just can literally do like rendition, right? Where you can just fucking, if you're a suspected terrorist, you go to Guantanamo Bay, that's it. Like you're literally at the mercy of whatever of the government to stay there as a terrorist. Man, and before, like for a number of years you didn't even get representation. You're just being held as a terrorist. China doesn't have a fucking Guantanamo Bay, right? So like, I mean, like, if you're gonna say like, okay, how are you gonna deal with those actual guys that went to Syria to fight with ISIS and stuff that are coming back to Xinjiang? It's like, okay, well, like this may be it's not the cleanest way, but it's not definitely not genocide, and it does offer people a way to fucking like get it's one of those like vocational trainings where you wouldn't get one or either way, like it's probably it's something like that, and then like if the argument was like, oh, sometimes this is just not fair, this is the way that you're born in these circumstances, and if by association you knew people that were terrorists, or you had family that were terrorists, yeah, it's not fucking fair, especially if you're innocent, that you still have to go through all this fucking like mandatory training and shit like that, or at the very worst you get detained and questioned, and if you're innocent you're let go. But but genocide, definitely that's not what the fuck this is. But outside of China, like, you can say whatever you want. Like, no one's going to, if you're not Chinese, it's not like the average Canadian or American was even going to call you out on it. It serves as boogeyman political points, and that's all the use is going to be for you as a politician, that you can get fucking rubes to basically you can rally a bunch of fucking rubes on shit like this, especially if it's like Chinese people bad, China is is the Mordor across the ocean, right? You can rally people, you can get some kind of base that will at least further your interests. Easy, because it doesn't matter. So that's the grift. And it's come to the point where it's like, if you question it, come to the point where it's like, at least online in some communities, it's enough that you can get people fired up. If you say, okay, well, that's bullshit, there's no chance, they'll fire it up. They'll be like, oh, you guys that's fucking bullshit. Oh, so the Holocaust didn't happen then, or not? It's come to a point where like, it's got enough momentum that you get like literal self-made cheerleaders that will parrot this for you, and for a lot of the establishment type figures, like, that's great. That's what you want. You can get someone to rally against you. Like, in Alberta, you can get people. If you're an oil company, you're happy because most of the people in Alberta and Texas will rally towards the cause of oil and gas, just without a second thought, right?
Yeah, they were complaining about how the turbines were frozen, and this is the reason why we need more fossil fuel.
Oh God, yeah, I know that
Because
was
they're not
fucking-
reliable.
That
was the
fucking
best.
funny as
And
hell.
who was that? It was the mayor for Colorado, Texas, or something, and they were like, survival of the fittest.
Yeah,
like,
literally,
stop,
eat shit.
Stop asking me for handouts.
Eat shit.
Like,
Get
what am I
freeze
supposed
to
to do?
death. Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's what
Go
he
out,
basically said to
go
people.
out and do something about it, man. Don't just tweet at me.
This is like everybody's brains have degenerated to the point where they believe a fucking genocide is happening in a place of China where the native Uighur population has exploded in population to the point where it's like, in Texas, this happens. This a storm comes in, people freeze to death. You get no electricity, and then what? Fucking wind turbines are the things that people are blaming. Like, if you got the mayor of of that town saying, "Yeah, everybody fend for themselves," what the fuck is the point of having a government anymore? Like, why even go through all this anymore? Like, what is the point of anything? If people are like, "Oh fuck, we're like if disaster happened, we need some help," and then it's like, "Oh no, fuck you, you're not giving you like what? Why even have any of this anymore?" Right? Like, aren't people like asking themselves that? Like, it's just like, okay, why even have society anymore? What, like, why not just fucking have like Immortan Joe, Mad Max? Like, if the government's not gonna fucking help, or when the fucking disaster strikes, like that was the mindset of an elected official. What? It's over. It's fucking over.
You do have a point.
And it's like they knew it was coming too, right? And it's like, okay, well, like the wind turbines froze. Yeah, the entire electricity grid on everything basically got fucking shot to shit, right? Like the majority of like the fucking like like the gas and oil and gas fucking power plants, they could not handle this shit, right? And you're gonna attack like what? Fucking, it's just the wind turbines. Like the majority of Texas is running oil and gas, and it literally got fucked by this. But it's the wind turbines that's the problem. They're all fucked. They might as well just feed everybody into like the jaws of the beast at this point. Like just as a sacrifice. At this point, people should just might as well just fucking do like sacrifices to please the weather gods. Like that's the level they're at now. And this is the crazy shit. Did you see like people that in Texas that like they didn't believe the snow was real. They believed the snow was like a government op. And they did this. They proved this by like they took the snow in their backyards. Yeah, they put a flame to it. It's like, see, this is fucking fake. It's turning black. The snow is turning black. Like this is all like deep state shit. And I was like, what the fuck? All right, well, like, what's the next course of action then? Just sacrifice your youngest kid?
What was making it go black? They just melted it, or what?
It's the soot. It's the soot and shit on it was the soot and the impurities in the snow that was turning
explain
black.
the video to me because I haven't watched it.
So they took a snowball and they went to the backyard and they lit a flame on it and it was turning black.
Yeah, they took a lighter to the
Oh,
snow. They imagined that the whole thing will just fucking turn into water and shit, right?
Yeah.
But what happened was the snow, the parts that were hitting the flame turned black, right? And so they're like, this is fake. This is fake snow. This snow is literally. They went from like, they didn't even go through the intermediate normal stages of like, why is the snow turning black? They literally just made the jump saying, the snow is turning black. This must be a government op.
How many conspiracy theories could you hold? Like, for example, let's say you believe that the snow wasn't real, and you start believing that birds aren't real, they're government.
Dude, it's over at that point.
And then
how many
you start
conspiracy?
thinking like 5G is causing coronavirus, and Bill Gates is doing this so that you buy their vaccine. Like,
It's
I don't
over. It's over, man. It's not like they have a capacity for a conspiracy. It's just they're just done.
You know
It's
how
over.
like the 5G things, people made a lot of profit because they were selling like rocks and stuff that prevent the 5G waves.
Yep.
I wonder if there's like a prevention for the snow thing now, like I don't know, like a raincoat that prevents the snow.
fake
from
snow,
touching
or you sell boots. You could sell boots and be like, "Oh, these are great for government snow or fake snow."
for government snow, government snow boots prevention.
Government snow boots, not sold by the government.
Idiots.
Idiots.
They would do it.
Yeah.
No, they would. These guys would literally do that. They would be like, pay more taxes or some shit, or to upgrade the infrastructure. Fuck that. I want to buy the government insulating boots or what? The insulating boots that will protect me from the government snow, or the government air quote snow. The government mind control frozen water that falls from the sky.
Excellent. I should
I do
start
think-
calling that.
I do think what conspiracy theories can do that most science cannot do is provide answers to people. Because, sometimes in science, we don't have the answers, right? And a lot of people don't like the ambiguity. Whereas conspiracy theory, you always have an answer for anything, right? Because if you're a flat Earth conspiracist, if someone asks you, like, well, what about this? They always have an answer. Same with black snow, same with 5G causing coronavirus. They always have an answer. I think always having an answer it's something that we, as humans, I think we like. We enjoy not having ambiguity. I think we like to know an answer, whether it's real
I think there's an answer to science as well. It's just that this is the answer that we have now. It could change once we find out more stuff, but that people, I don't know, like.
But people
you
don't
kinda
like
have
that,
to
right?
accept that.
It's
But you
a,
kinda have to accept
it's just like I said before, man. For me, I think it's a fucking coping mechanism for people. That's I think that's the engine. That's the heart of the whole thing.
Coping with what though?
It's just like fucking they just can't reconcile or anything or the fact that whatever, if their beliefs in anything are challenged to the point where like they see like fucking failure all around them, and they don't want to confront. They don't feel comfortable confronting it in its base, like the most obvious fucking whatever, like a societal or material base.
Yeah.
Then it's just that's when the fucking crazy shit. That's when the cope comes in and they fucking find some way. They do the mental gymnastics to find some way, and then you get a successful conspiracy when you get more people that buy into this shit, So yeah, governments know, like, if no one bought into it, it will just die on its own. But a lot of people fucking buys into it, right? Like,
Well, so I want to segue to this last topic here to finish up. But like me and my friend Phil, we were talking about made up rules, right? Well, I guess like this whole podcast, we're talking about things that are all made up, right? Like money and all that stuff. And,
yep,
like,
money, political lies, and all that shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the one that we were talking about sorry, like the concept of the word sorry, and then we got into this talk about like dating your best friend's exes, I guess.
Oh.
And like as an idea of like there's this common, or maybe not common, but there's some people believe you shouldn't, right? And then he was saying that's a bullshit concept that people follow, and it's kind of like this idea of like when do you choose to follow a rule, I guess, because all rules seem to be made up. Where like humans, we just construct these ideas of like what money means and how you can't say the N-word unless you're black, kind of thing. Like, how do you know which rules to follow and how do you know which rules to break, I guess?
Man, you really want to say the N-word or some shit like that? What the fuck?
It's just the best example.
It depends on how much people fail doing it. It's like one of those things is probability, right? Sometimes some people do it and they get it right? Or it works for them and then it might not work for other people. But if the majority of people, it doesn't work for them, most likely not doing it is probably the better idea. It's like, I don't know, killing someone and getting away with it, right? So most people, I would assume, hopefully, don't get away with it. But, there are some that do. And
yeah.
But is it right to kill someone? Probably not, right? I don't know.
I get that's an interesting way. I guess so I think rules, I guess what you're saying is based on your peers, right? Because based on your peer system, if there's enough people saying like, yeah, you shouldn't do that because the ones who've done it, have not fared well, then you're more likely to follow that rule. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I kind of think it is. Like I don't know. I personally don't agree with like dating someone's ex, but then technically, chances are that girl from a friend, and that friend probably dated somebody that you know. So,
chances are they were an ex of someone else, and you might be friends with them, and you're like, shit, I didn't know she was your ex.
The older you get, that rule matters less and less, I think. Right?
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I never thought that rule actually changes. as you get older. But that's actually a
Well,
good point.
you got to think about it this way, because like you get older, your friend circle gets smaller and smaller, in my
Right.
opinion. Friend
Right.
circle gets smaller as you get older. So when you know, I don't want to say you know less people, but a lot of the people that you know might know people that you already know, right? So eventually you're gonna date someone that has dated someone from before, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
I don't know.
Does it
Say
change
that.
though? Like if you
Wait,
date someone and then you became friends with their
wait, who was
like you
like when you were arguing with Phil?
yeah.
What side did you guys take?
I don't think I took a side. I'm indifferent on it. Like I'm not too married to the idea. But he said it. He just said the idea. The rule was BS. I think he said you should be able to date anyone. But I know for some of my friends, they value that rule a lot. Like they think ideally you shouldn't be able to. And
Yeah, man, it's
I-
based on what fucking people.
Well,
It's
I
kind of
think
based on
it
people.
also depends. Like if your best friend is still crushing on the girl that, broke up with him, and then you go ahead and date her, I don't think that's okay. Right? I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
just it's not like a rule that was handed down by God. It's just it
No.
comes about from just relations with people. You know,
Yeah.
like
It
you don't
would
want
be
to
kind of funny
upset.
if it was in the Ten Commandments.
You don't want to upset whatever. Well, I guess we can get in. I guess Brian wants to leave in a bit, so we can't really get into all that fucking religion and God shit. But yeah,
Well,
like,
summarize.
but
Thou
it's
shall not date a bro's girl.
well, a lot of that,
Is that a bro code?
a lot of that was it's based on people. It's based on like
I always thought that was
people's relations.
based on kingdoms. You know how Hamlet, like the uncle killed his brother, and he married his wife, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought the rule of like you shouldn't date your ex was passed down from generation of backstabbing brothers and backstabbing best friends who like steals your wife and your job, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, well, I guess in a way, like even that it has to stem from something, right? If you try to figure out like okay how did this all even come to be, like even the rules that you think that are based off of other rules, well like the parent rules of society is all based off something, right? It's just like the relations that fucking underpin society, you know. The reason you just can't fucking kill anyone you want. There's a reason you can't just fucking go around and, you know, just destroying everything. Fucking take a bunch of, you know, just murder, rape, and pillage everything around you in your own society, right? Like, because fucking people don't like that, right? And
There's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
well, I mean, like, eventually you have a functioning society. It's kind of like, you know, everybody comes to at least some sort of tacit agreement that you're not gonna kill each other, or whatever. You're not gonna do whatever, but the people that do the punishment's gonna be meted out by a higher authority, right?
Yeah. You know, when we talk about like this type of philosophy about ethics and stuff, right? We people make judgment based on different values, right? Have you heard of the ethic philosophy where like if I don't do it, someone else will do it, so I might as well do it, kind of thing? Like for example, like let's say you're in you own land in the south of US, and back then they had the slave trade, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you're like, well, if I don't buy these slaves, someone else will, kind of thing. So I at least can buy them and treat them better than others may have, right? Like like
Yeah, no,
what do you think about that?
No, that's kind of like a real thing. Like in the aggregate, you can actually you can observe fucking trends and movement in society that in aggregate is affected, whereas individually you wouldn't be able to see it. Like owning slaves, or even just I talked about the fucking capitalism before and underpaying your workers, right? And I said back then, like, you know, even when Marx said it in his books, it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter individually if you want to fucking pay your workers as much as you want, just in the competition, in the aggregate system as it flows in the competition itself. If you don't pay, if you don't fucking find that profit, and in doing so, most of the times underpaying your fucking labor force, your competitor will just do that, and you'll just be shit out of luck, right?
Yeah, I think.
Right. I mean, and that's a lot of that was from the slave areas as well. Like,
Yeah.
Based on your upbringing, if you're like one of those southern plantation families and shit, like, yeah, your upbringing is like, you, as soon as you're born, and as soon as you sort of figure yourself out as like, I exist as a child, and get that consciousness, your family was already in that environment where you had black slaves or whatever, right? It's all normal to you, and even if you felt like you felt like this slavery was wrong, this was an abuse and some shit, well, the plantation owners or whatever that were all vested into this, will just be like, well, like, if you're just gonna say, oh well, I'm gonna treat my slaves good or whatever, and maybe society will be that pressure where it's like, well, like, you're gonna lose out or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna be in like competition to get your fucking cotton and shit to market, like, your competitor that has way more slaves treats them like shit, but they can like, he doesn't give a fuck, and he probably gets more out of it than
It's
you,
actually interesting when you look at like the U.S. South, like houses, for example. They were designed that you would have slaves. Like, for example,
yeah, the whole U.S. South was based on slave plantation.
it was, and it's interesting. Like, for example, like what I want to get across was, like, say you're in a dining room. They actually one popular design was they'll have a button at the head of the chair, and when you press that button, it would ring in the kitchen. Because the idea was that you don't want to talk to your slave. You could just like command them, like, hey, bring the food up, kind of thing, right? And it's like, oh, this is really cool. Like the way they design the house, like in modern days, they're like, why is there so many corridors and stuff? It's so that the slaves can get around without you ever needing to see them.
Yeah, just to have them out of sight, just to complete that
Yeah.
dehumanization. So
Yeah,
you don't have to interact.
it's like basically a smart home before Google Home and stuff, right? Like, can you imagine? Like, people were living awesome. Like, say you wanted your thermostat to go up, you just press something, and your heat turns on, and you don't have to think about
Well, you
it.
can do that now still.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you don't
now-
you don't
now
have
we-
a
we
human
employ-
slave to it. That's the whole.
I don't have a human slave for it. You're right. But back then, a smart home was just run by slaves, right? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
how cool.
Well, I mean, like,
Jesus,
it's not.
yeah, how cool.
Well, like in,
God.
I don't want to say all apartments, but some apartments in Hong Kong that have the same thing. It's like they have like a little room, like
Yeah,
a smaller room, just hidden in the middle of nowhere. It's for like maids and
Yeah,
stuff. So
well,
they expect like most
Hong
people
Kong had
have
that,
a maid.
had that caste system with the fucking maid, the foreign maid. Or it was like
Yeah,
Filipino
so
maid
they
or
have, like,
Indonesian maid.
like a maid room kind of thing, and like a lot of apartments, even well, especially houses, but apartments will have like a little tiny room like in the kitchen or something.
Yeah, fucking maid slaves. That's a fucking. It is a fucking thing, and if you're a prestigious family, you fucking had fucking maids. You have maids, right?
Yeah. So
Like,
I don't know.
it was like in the
Well,
South
actually,
as well.
just middle class in general in Hong Kong.
It's a status kind of thing.
Yeah, you just have to be middle class
it has a life of its
to
own.
afford it.
Like, it affects your social standings. Whether your kids, if you want to marry them off into another family, how prestigious are they? Do they have fucking maids? Do they have fucking
I don't know if
cars
it's
or
a
some shit?
prestigious thing because, like, I mean, middle class really need it because both of the parents will have to be working in order to afford that home they live
I do
in,
think, I
right?
mean, having a
So they-
slave is kind of like having a Google Home, right? Like, and in some sense, it is a prestige thing.
Well,
like how-
Google Home can't go pick up your groceries or
Not
send your
yet.
kids to school.
Yes,
Not
you want that fucking service and whatever, that convenience of it. And yeah, back
Yeah.
then, because of the absence of technology, you get actual people to fucking do it
Yeah.
to become
So
your
nothing's
fucking.
changed, other than people not doing.
Well,
those
you're
work,
freeing people from doing that shit. That's the one thing that changed. But yeah, because we're sort of, in a way, since we're still in a capitalist society, yeah, most of the things, the technological advances is, people are afraid of them because it affects their fucking livelihood and shit. But it should it should be something that lessens the burden on people.
Man,
That's the
at
fucking
some
goal at
point
it.
we're gonna have a civil war on freeing the AIs from slavery.
I don't
I hope
think
not.
so.
I hope
I don't think so,
not.
but I honestly think, like I always say, there's gonna be a civil war, at least in the most capitalist leading countries like America, just based on the current system. Because slavery, in the South, for the United States, it's not like they fucking reformed their way out of slavery, right? It's not like a bunch of fucking slave owners just decided to pass laws and shit in the South to get rid of slavery. But no, because the entire society and the entire makeup of the South was based on slavery, like you said, and like how we talked about, fucking it took an external force from the North in this civil war to forcibly change it. Like there's nobody, like no matter how good of a person or a Christian or whatever the fuck they said back then you are in the South, this was gonna be dominant, and there's nothing that was gonna change it, bar fucking conflict, right? And I think that I think people don't fucking just, I don't know, they don't think about that too often or whatever. They just feel like they can just fucking TED talk their way out of a lot of shit. Like nobody fucking TED talked their way out of the Civil War. Out of slavery. Fucking that was literally like fucking meat grinder to fucking to change that shit. And I think the current one's going to be more or less the same. Might not be like a fucking bloodbath meat grinder, but some kind of conflict for sure. Some kind of either societal or whatever.
I think it'd be difficult to get into an all war situation with like the military advances that we have nowadays. It'd be difficult for the government to try to start a civil war with, not start, but like to end a civil war with the people without massive injury.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there's not going to be. Yeah, I mean,
So I
people
don't
always
think
want
they
like a
want to
clean
get
war.
into yeah.
But yeah, wars are never going to be clean. But at the same time, just because it's not going to be a clean war, it's going to be a messy one. I don't necessarily think that will deter the resistance to societal change from happening. I don't think.
No, I don't think it's. No, I think it's going to be make it harder for the government to defend itself, hold a stand. If anything was to start up.
Well, the thing is,
like,
I don't necessarily think it'll just be the people versus the government. I think it's going to be messy, and it's so hard because it's going to be class versus class, and so that's why I think and class is just it's the broader, it's all aspects of society. Because at the base of it, it's not like the government itself is the reason that like we're in this mode of production and fucking society is structured like this. Government is just a byproduct of the environment of the society and its environment. It's a product born from it, right? And as a superstructure thing, it may reinforce it from time to time, but it is still driven by that base. But if that base were going to find itself basically at a conflict, once it reaches that point, the base itself is made up of people in the classes in society, right? So it would be society that would be in conflict. Your enemy would.
So you think like the poor people would go to Silicon Valley and just take the heads of.
Well,
the
no,
rich?
I think no. It's not even that. It's not even that far removed from reality. Like, okay, so imagine there's a massive strike just at the point where you reach critical mass, where you have enough strikers throughout the entire cross spectrum of society, from food production to transportation to literally everything, and then society is at the brink of falling apart, but the strikes are not going to end. Like, what do you do? Like, if you're the government and you order everybody to stop striking and to return to work, and they don't, what happens next, right? Like that's when the violence comes in. You send in the cops to break up the strike. Okay, what if at that point people are not fucking cowed by that anymore, and they're just like, okay, bring it on. I'm just gonna fucking. It's either I strike and we succeed, or I fucking die, right? And then at that point, the state fucking violence comes down. Then that's what you that's the beginnings of it. Right? It's not like a fucking mob of people just bum rushing like Apple headquarters. It'll just be like oh, this strike has been going on for 160 days or whatever. The fucking society is collapsing. There's nothing in the shelves of supermarkets. Government orders everybody to return to work. You have 48 hours to end this strike. The strike doesn't end. Send in the cops, send in the National Guard. There you go.
And it doesn't end there.
Yeah, so then that's when you
Is that what
get
you're
the
saying?
fucking societal. That's when you get the makings of like a societal
And
collapse.
then they'll just implement the purge, right? Every once a year we'll do the purge, and people will go around killing people for one day.
I feel like the more I grow up, I feel like that's like the easy way out of this, actually, because it still benefits them. Like people in power, are like, oh great, we found like a pretty good solution to this. Yeah, just give the rubes like a day during the year where they can just do whatever the fuck they want. Let off some steam, and yeah, we're still in power. Everything still runs according to us. That's great. The purge is like their best case scenario.
Um. Anyways, I'm out of topics.
I think it's a good way to end it.
All right, yeah, I guess we could do it. We can end
So
it.
with
Hmm?
no, go ahead.
Yeah, it's been another good episode. I'm glad that we could all participate. Jason had to duck out early, but he had to go eat.
Well, thank you for the invite.
It was last minute. Because nobody except Brian responded last time, so I was like, oh okay, shit. this
Oh
might
man,
be
I
pretty
told you,
easy.
Jason he's a sniper.
Yeah,
He-
fucking. Well, he didn't say anything, so I didn't know if he was coming or not. So, but yeah,
Yo
he
man,
came.
you're not supposed to give up your position as a sniper. You just get shot. Makes
Uh,
sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we had a coherent theme this time, even though we winged it.
We just talk about rules,
Oh, they're all
rules
made
that
up
we
of
should
shit.
follow and rules we shouldn't follow.
I feel like this
But
would be
bas-
one of those ones where, like, if Phil was here, shit would have gotten wild. It would have
Well,
gotten out of hand.
basically, I think the takeaway for the audience is that rules are based on your relationship with people. So if you follow some rules, you might develop better relationship, and if you don't follow some rules, you might hurt some, right? So it really depends on what relationship you want to keep and what relationship you don't.
And society is basically the
Just have-
aggregate of the relationships between people.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it makes sense for Phil to have some ideas of some rules he thinks are BS and some rules he follows because it depends. Those are the ones he follows are probably because they're important to the people he cares about,
Probably.
which makes sense. So that's why he doesn't say the N word because he probably has really good friends.
Wait, we don't.
I
It makes
would-
it sound like you say the N word like on a regular.
No, I don't say that. I don't have this. I haven't earned the status to be able to say it.
What the
I'm not like NMM. Like NMM could say it, right?
No, he can't. He can't
No, he
say
can't?
it. No.
But he has black friends, right? Isn't that his?
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't.
I think he can sing it in a rap.
No,
but I
he
don't
can't
think-
sing it in a rap. He got in trouble.
No?
From one of his older mixtape days, he got in trouble because he said it. I mean, like,
really?
yeah. I don't think he can just say. You know what? I don't fucking know. But I think like because
Well, it depends on the times too, right? Because like like at some time, I'm pretty sure for him it would have been okay. to
Does it
say
make a
and then-
difference if there's a presence of a black person there? So like he's not saying it as a way of like, oh, I hate these people. Like if there's a presence of him, it's like, oh yeah, I'm saying it because it's like a rhetoric or
I don't know.
as a song.
why the fuck do I always find myself back here? Talking about this? Why do you bring this up all the fucking time?
It's just
I feel like you're just like a fucking like CIA asset trying to like shut us down. So you want to bring this every time to fucking compromise. It's trying to get some compromat on us.
If we are to be canceled, I'm sure it'll be that word. But anyway, I haven't said it yet.
Why? Why is this always on the agenda?
It's not always on the agenda. I just find it's an interesting, like it's a rule. It's an interesting
You
idea.
just slip it in there.
It's just I'm just challenging it to fully better understand why do we have
What?
these rules.
Today we're
and
talking
these
about
customs.
rules, so let's talk about the N-word rule. The next day we're going to talk about words. Let's talk about the N-word word. Well, we're gonna talk about
What?
history in Asia, but let's talk about the N word
I
and
think
the
you
history of
gotta.
Africa.
I think you gotta look at it like it's a swear word, right? Well, it is a curse word, right?
You're right.
So, like, mean in certain situations it's okay to swear, and then in certain situations it's not, right? So you can't just say
Yeah.
fuck wherever you are, right?
So yeah, as a parent, like, sorry, I'll finish this off.
It's
But
okay.
as a
I'm not
parent,
in a rush. You're the one in the rush.
like for swear words, I heard like, if you tell your kids not to say that word, it only makes them want to say it, right? Because then they feel like they have some power. So would it be better for them to say it and just not react, so it's just like any other word, so that they just like, oh, this word doesn't have power and then has no meaning, or like what's the best way to parent like
What is?
kids who do say swear words? I guess
I mean, the whole goal is for them not to say it, right?
yeah.
So just
I'm-
tell them, just get them not to say it.
But that
shouldn't be that fucking hard.
But by telling someone don't say it, it's like asking them to say it. It's like telling the internet.
Well, no, it's like, well, you're
Don't-
gonna you'd cancel your kid then, right?
How would you cancel
Yeah.
your kid?
Well, you just send him to a room. You're fucking canceled. You can't do shit. Like,
Well, no, I think you should treat it as just depends because it's not a word like depending on what word you're saying, but if you're just saying like fuck or whatever, it's
Mhm.
not like such a terrible word that you die if you say it, right? So like it's okay for the kid to know what a swear word is. It's okay for them to say it, but like I think as a kid you need to know what situation you can say it and what situation you can't say it.
well,
And
that's
just
precisely
simply saying-
why. But that's precisely
Yeah,
why it's not
that's why I
exactly
think
a
saying
swear.
just kind of like telling them not to say it is good enough because like they'll say it, whatever, right? But if you
Mhm.
just say don't say it after a while, they're gonna know that like there's certain situations where they shouldn't say it.
But how
like,
would they
for
know
reasons.
when the situation is okay for them to say it? Because the only
Well,
time
when nobody is telling them
The
not to say
situation is okay. You just basically just tell them like there's no situation that would be okay for you to say this. That's it.
it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
when
It's not
you're
like
having
fuck.
when you're having sex, it's okay to say it.
You're gonna say you just scream the N word while you're having sex.
Oh no, I was talking about fuck. but
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. It's
I
not the
was talking
same as a swear. The racial slur is not the same
well,
as a swear.
not if your say boyfriend or girlfriend is black and they
Oh
want you
God.
to say it, right? They want you. They'll be like, call me it now, and then you gotta say it, right? So it depends on the situation.
Jesus.
Depends if
Or-
the opponent likes it or not.
Yeah, but I think that's enough of like a niche situation where you can safely say like, yeah, for like 100 majority of you'll never say this word. You'll never need to. And you'll need to
Okay.
find like a 1 in a million situation where like yeah, your girlfriend demands that you say it during sex. Like that's not enough of an occurrence to say there may be sometimes we have to say it. No.
Well, I was talking about other curse words like fucking.
But that's
But
what I'm
that-
saying, man. It's
so
not
then-
a curse
so
word.
then when- if you were to tell a kid, don't say that word, but there are situations where you can't say it, won't their next question be, what situation would that be?
Well, you're
How
not
would-
gonna tell them there are situations you can say it.
You're
They're
not
gonna
going to?
have to figure. No,
Oh.
they're gonna have to figure out when it's okay to say
Yeah,
it, and
but then-
usually
But how would kids
Huh?
figure that out other than to
you
test
get
the
in
waters?
trouble. You make a whole bunch of mistakes. So you say it in front of your parents, and your parents say don't say it, then you don't say it, right? And then eventually they're gonna get to a point where they can say it, like in front of their friends or whatever, right?
It's interesting.
So, like-
Parenting.
What?
No, it's like, well, I don't know. You kind of have to let them figure out when they can say it or not, right?
I don't think this is a
Mm.
trial by
And
fire.
to be clear here, I'm not talking about the N word. I'm talking about like other curse words like fuck shit and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, fuck
Those
shit,
are-
bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, those words you're gonna have to figure out when you can say it, and that's kind of like how an adult figures out things too. You do things, and sometimes you make a mistake, and and then you get corrected. Is when you try to figure out, okay, this is the appropriate time to do something. This is not the appropriate time. It's like just living life. You just have to figure that out. You gotta let the kid live life. You can't just put boundaries around him all. the
Well,
time.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think the kid can parse out what the fuck's going on when he's like 6 or something. So like
No,
if
but
they're 6, you just
kids,
say
like
yeah,
all
don't say that
people
word.
do, grow.
Well, yeah, they grow once they're like like the 17-year-olds. You're not gonna be like, yeah, you can't say the F word.
So then,
Wow.
so then,
But
is it
as
to
a
you?
kid, I'm like, yeah, you can't say the F word. Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
so they're
let it
they're
stick
five
for
and
as long as
six.
you can.
So they're 5 and 6. You'd be like, don't say that word. That's a bad word, right? But as
Yeah.
they grow
Yeah.
up, do you take like like say curfews? They'll be like, hey, now that you're 12, we're extending your curfew, or you can stay up later, or you don't have
No,
to come home until.
no.
Like, do you tell
You
them like
challenge.
also swear words
You
are open to you now?
no.
Like, do you,
You don't
no?
tell them when things are okay. They have to figure out when it's okay by
Oh,
challenging you.
that's just
That's how I like.
yeah. I mean, I understand that's
Curfew
how
is
we learned
always
it.
going to
I'm
be
just
there until you
Mhm.
challenge the curfew. That's how I. That's how I was growing
uh,
up. Like I
and do you
think
do?
I might
I
have
guess
had
you
a
believe in that.
curfew when I was younger, but then I'm pretty sure I challenged it all the time until like there
Yeah,
was no curfew.
yeah.
But that situation is different for you too. It's not like your parents had their hands full. They couldn't fucking enforce it, even if they wanted to.
Exactly.
So it's not like
Exactly.
it's not like the absence of the control because they can't. It's not the same as like fucking just they're deciding when like I don't know. I feel like I don't know. When you get there,
It's an
you get
interesting
there.
fix.
But
Yeah.
I don't think racial slurs are the same as the swears. I think the racial slurs will be like, "Yo, don't say this because like you don't even like fucking tease it out because you're gonna get destroyed out there."
Okay.
I'm with you
Okay.
on that
So
one.
we all
I'm
agree.
with you
Yeah.
on that one.
Racial slurs. Racial slurs. It's it's probably never okay. Where swear words situations are, but you can't tell a kid when they are.
I don't.
They just
I
have to
don't
Well,
think
learn
it's
it's
it.
like an
probably not okay. I think it's
exclamation
just not
basically.
okay.
The swears, right? Like you stub your toe, like your kid's gonna learn. You're gonna say it. You're like fuck, right? There's never a situation where you're gonna start saying the racials. Like even if there was, even if society there was situations where you're supposed to say a racial slur, even if that society existed, you should tell your kid like, yeah, don't just as default, don't. That would
Just
be the safest rule.
yeah. But then at one point they need to know the word. So how do you teach the child the word without saying it?
Well, you would tell them
Why
the
do
word,
they
like,
need
don't
to
say
know
this
the
word.
word?
Like, don't say that word or whatever the fuck, right? I mean,
No,
like,
why do they need to know it? They don't
well,
need to know
Well,
it.
they need to know to not to say it, right?
yeah, they're gonna
No, they're
hear it
gonna
eventually
they're gonna
somewhere.
learn it from somebody, right?
Okay.
And then when they learn it from somebody and they repeat it in front of you, then you tell them no, it's not okay. You're not gonna go up to them without them knowing the word, and then you just go tell them, hey, just wake
So
up one day and just say, hey, good
Yeah,
morning.
preemptive.
Today you're not allowed to, or like from now on, you're not allowed to say this word that I'm gonna tell you right now. But like, it's not how it goes. You kind of wait until they say it. If they
it's
say
kind of
it,
it's kind of
maybe
an
they'll
interesting.
live their
Like
whole
you
life
don't want
not
to be
knowing what the word
preemptive of
is.
it. Like you don't want to be
Yeah,
preemptive of it, but at the same time, you also don't want it to like have them say it without you ever knowing. You're like, ah, shit, he's been saying it for these couple months. He didn't say it in front of me. How?
well,
Coward.
he'll eventually get in trouble for it. He or she will
He or
eventually get in
she,
trouble
yeah,
for it,
that's
right?
right.
And
That's right.
then when they
Coward,
get in
say it
trouble
in
for
front
it,
of me.
when they get in trouble for it is when you catch them. You can't just go and tell them something not. I don't know.
Yes, that's a very
Yeah.
American mindset. You just go up and slap your kid. Well, what was that for? You're gonna do something bad. You're gonna. I think that was like a Russell Peters bit or some shit like that. The dad comes up, slaps him. What was that for? For the future or some shit like that.
Well,
All
I
right.
feel like
Well,
it's kind of a weird thing to think about because, like, what if you're like all worried about your son or daughter is gonna kill somebody because they don't know that killing is bad, and then like you gotta have to wake up one morning and just go like, hey, please don't kill anybody, or like, I don't know, killing is bad or whatever.
What
I
was
guess
that? It was that old like
in
Chinese
killing,
Chinese parody joke where it's like, yeah, there's no treasure buried within 20 paces of this area.
And then they're
I
like,
guess
maybe killing is good.
I guess one way you could teach those things without them experiencing it is movies, right? Because when you watch a movie, it's a way of experiencing something that you're not doing,
So you
right?
you're telling me you're gonna show kids, the
Rambo or something,
chainsaw. Oh,
right?
I was thinking of the Chainsaw Massacre or something like
Yeah,
that.
don't worry. Like, forget about the kids. Fucking adults can't even get their shit together. You know how many workplaces do like fucking like workplace like racial sensitivity
Seminars.
training and seminars and shit
Oh,
like
you're
that.
talking about like sexual harassment and stuff like that?
Not even, yeah, sure, but also racial, like diversity training and all that shit. Like,
Oh, diversity training.
people, just adults can't even get their shit
Well,
together.
then that lady got diversity training, right? She's what was it called? The Park Karen or something. She was the one, like she was at Central Park and she saw a black person,
Yeah.
and the black guy was telling her like, "You shouldn't have dogs here" or something, and she started yelling and screaming for help because, yeah, and called the police on him while he was filming this. Anyways, they charged her, but then I think she got out because she had correctional therapy.
The correctional thing. Look, that's just horse shit. Of fucking
It was
corporate,
horseshit.
corporate fucking the paper over. It's the worst.
It's like they asked the guy like, "Oh, how do you feel about this?" And he's like, "I guess it's okay," but like for him, he's like, "I don't really care much about her." It's like he was more concerned about the whole society, like like why is she like by punishing her, it kind of gives it like it makes the people who've done it feel better about themselves, but it still happens, right? Like you're not really fixing the problem by punishing her. That's his whole just.
Yeah, man. If you are an ethnic minority in the U.S., that's fucking life for you. You're just gonna get fucked at the whims of society. It is.
You can choose to be Michael Jackson and dye your skin.
He didn't dye his skin. I thought it was a condition.
Yeah, his was a condition. I think.
Really?
It wasn't,
Thought he,
it wasn't by
dyed his
choice.
Well, I think it was conditioned, but he did go through surgery for some. Well, unless the surgery was unrelated to his skin.
I have no clue. I thought he dyed his skin.
But it was
I
a
guess
South
that
Park
was-
He
joke.
did have a condition of the skin that made it like a different color. But I'm not sure if that is responsible for his final look or whatever. I know he went through surgery
That was a
too.
joke in South Park, though, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen that one? The police was like, "Oh, there's a black guy doing this," and then they went to Michael Jackson's house about to arrest him or something. That wasn't like crime related. But then they open the door and he's white, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And they're like, "We're sorry, sir. We didn't mean to. It must have been a mistake." And then the detective started investigating and started discovering like, "Oh shit, this guy was black all along." That was so funny.
And just like that, I think that joke just went over everybody's heads in society. Because it's like now 2020 and fucking black, you get another ethnic protest again, race protest.
Oh, you guys are gonna get canceled now.
No, we never said the word. I've always said black.
It is. It's a race protest. Like they're getting fucked. The minorities are getting fucked. So they're protesting.
Are you?
Riot.
I don't think you're even allowed
Protest.
to say black now. You didn't think you're supposed to say African American.
I guess I could say that.
Well,
Yeah.
what are you gonna say?
You guys
African American,
are-
like the Black Lives Matter.
I don't know, man.
It's
People
all in
say
context, man. You can't, like it's just. What are you gonna start calling it? It's not Black Lives Matter is racist. No, it's supposed to be African American Lives Matter.
Well, I mean,
Nope, you're
Jason.
canceled.
I mean, Jason got in trouble when he said all lives matter.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
I
you
was
guys
like,
say that.
sweating.
We had to like lecture him for a bit.
Oh jeez.
And he felt so embarrassed. He's like, "Well, I didn't know. I didn't know."
Well, he wasn't
Favorite.
embarrassed. He was defiant. He was like, no.
It's like, "No, you guys are wrong, man. All lives do matter." You're just like, shake my head. It's hard to know what to say. I mean, even kids, I'm pretty sure they say all lives matter, and they
Well,
probably don't even know what it means.
if the kids are saying all lives matter, you can bet your ass it's the parents telling him to say that. Like at this point, it's like it's just well known shit. You're not gonna accidentally stumble onto a bunch of stuff unless you're fucking Jason, apparently.
Well, it depends on how old your kid is.
Yeah.
Because if your kid is well into the teenage years, them saying that could possibly just be rebel in themselves.
Yeah, but you will know like the innocence of a kid, right? They may not know better, but
That's true.
it's like Jason did not know better. Right? He didn't know what the whole
It
thing.
would be. Would you be pissed if you're like, "Who taught you all lives matter?" And then it's like, "My teacher. We were saying all lives matter and everyone is equal." Blah blah blah. Would you be furious and be like,
Well,
"I want to cancel that
You
teacher"?
have to.
You'd have to figure out the context.
Well, that's why it's like a fucking loaded society's like it's a bomb going off, right? Because you will get the overcorrection from people. You get
That's
the
true.
fucking cancel culture fanatics, right? Like they can go that far. Like fucking if one of them was in here and they heard Jason say all lives matter, it's like, where do you fucking work? Give me your employer's information. He'd be done.
I think in psychology, they were saying that people who are part of this cancel culture, they feel better about themselves when they're part of the movement of canceling someone because they feel like they're doing justice, right?
Yeah, and it's
Like, or these vigilantes were like, oh yeah, we got that guy.
yeah,
And
it's
then when
such
you
a-
find out he was innocent and like he didn't do anything really wrong, like he got caught out of contact.
yeah, the whole cancel culture thing is a fucking it's a yeah, it is like a thrill, or like it's like a cheap okay, it's not I gotta be careful here, I guess. It's just basically fucking people, especially the most overzealous ones, they're just in it just for that fucking that thrill of the justice, because the real fucking it's like maybe subconsciously or consciously they just realize that there's no way to affect any actual real societal material change, but they can go after this, right? And they can go after this thing where they're just playing whack-a-mole on either people that either fucking deserve it or oftentimes people that don't deserve it. But it's just like this thing that's like you know, like it's in place of an absence of any path of an actual social change, right? And then that's why they go online to fucking hunt people down that's just say something wrong out of context or they didn't know anything. Like there's nothing to even parse it out. And if that one of them was here, fucking jeez, he would have been done, right? It doesn't matter. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. It was just matter. It's like you pissed off someone. They're gonna come after you. But then you know,
Yeah.
like, but the thing is like, okay, well, like most of the people, like it's such a mess because on the other flip side, the ones that are like the most vocal anti counterculture people, there's a whole group of them that are just like fucking they may be just actually like fucking racist or some shit, and they're the ones like they'll be like, yeah, cancel culture is bullshit. Oh, by the way, I think the white race is superior or some shit like that. So then just like, okay, well, fuck it, just check out everything. Like, don't even bother. Like, don't even bother engaging in any of this shit.
All right, that was a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah,
But you have to go.
yeah, everything is made up, and don't fucking engage into anything.
Stay
Except
bland.
trolls.
Yeah,
Stay bland. Be Canadian. Be nice. Be cold.
I hate that so much.
Be invisible.
What, be Canadian?
Oh man,
Uh,
we talked
Yo,
about
you have to listen to it.
the
It's in the beginning of the pod.
Yeah.
Being Canadian and polite.
It's Canada beginning its path of Canadian propaganda, basically. They're just
And
latching
it's
on.
it's such a boring propaganda. It's just like, hey, Canadian, we're nice.
It's the false fucking cringe propaganda.
But wouldn't it be nice if it was true?
If it was true, what
If
it
we're
like?
all just polite.
How empty do you gotta be to be like, oh, what's your trait? Oh, he's nice.
And you're proud
Which is
of it.
good.
You're proud
Which
of
is
it.
good.
Like,
Yeah, you know, like at the wedding vows, like, what do you most love about, you know, like, who your spouse? He's nice.
it's not
Yeah,
nothing to
I
say.
think it's
much.
nice.
Yeah. Why are you marrying him? He's nice.
Yeah. That's generally why people marry people, because they're nice, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not very
'Cause when you-
romantic.
No, but when you look at a girl and then you agree that, you know, like you and your friends look at a girl, and then usually the word that comes up is nice.
Yeah, but that's a different.
No, that's
concept.
fucking different as shit.
Canadian is not.
So being nice is like, I don't know, it's good. It's
No,
not
we're
a
the
bad
boring
thing.
nice. Canadian
It's fucking
Canada
really
itself
nice.
is the boring nice. It's the it's nice.
Oh.
It's nice. Oh, we're nice. We're known
It's
as
not.
the nice people.
It's not like
Oh,
oh,
would,
I'm
would
moving
you
to
rather
Canada.
be
Nice.
would you rather be Japanese and like, you know, be
be the people that like, overdoes everything and known for porn.
Yeah, fucking that's awesome. Why not? That's an
That's
actual
better than
like
just
that's
being
an
nice.
actual thing.
That's better than being nice.
It's like an explosion of flavor. Apparently, there's fucking just nothing, just bland, just gruel in your mouth. You're nice.
We could be.
At least that
known
gives
as,
you like it's actual thing. You can be something that's not.
We can also be known as like seal clubbers.
That would be cool.
We club
That would be
seals.
fucking cool. Yeah, like Canada, like the country that clubs. I would rather see a commercial where they just like double down on that, and there's this fucking clubbing seal. It's like, oh, just like what? Come to like the brick where we can fucking club down your discount to fucking like we're fucking clubbing seals, 50%, 70%, and it's just
That's
this
very-
splatter of blood everywhere. And then
very America.
then people will be like, holy fuck, that is Canada.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Alright,
All right.
wrap it up with clubbing seals.
Yes. Don't hold any of us accountable because suck my dick.
Actually, that is a good thing. It's like, what do you want, Phil? What do you want people to say instead of sorry?
Wake up seals.
All right.
Yes, anyway.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for
Peace out.
anybody. Yes, listen to us. Like Brian said, sub. And sub where you
Super
can sub.
follow us. You gotta
Super
super follow us
follow.
on Twitter.
Do everything. Like open up your bank accounts to us. Give us a social security number. No, don't do that. I'm not sure if that's like a legal thing.
You're allowed to advertise that.
Give us everything that you can legally give us without getting us in trouble. All your support. Just
We should set up a GoFundMe, and then so we can all go up and club seals.
this clubbing seal thing, I feel like is going to be like a
Why don't
problem
you say double
in the
down on
future.
It's the thing that will cancel you.
A preemptive parody. So yeah, you can't get me for that. Fuck off. I like seals.
You like clubbing them.
Yeah, well, fucking, I like anything aside from our fucking cringe ass fuck. Canada's a nice country. Canadians are known for being nice. Fuck off. Yeah, that does make people want to club seal. If you care about the seals, don't say that shit anymore. Because that's on you. That's on you. The blood of the seals will be on the fucking makers of that commercial. That extol the niceness of Canadians. All right. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Tune in next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nice is a secret code we trained the world to call us, so they visit other places because Canada, nah, it's just nice.
Is we the North, we the champs, we the red and the white. We see the rise, not just nice. This is Canada. Nice.
Nice.